Alright guys, welcome. Hopefully I'm all set up and prepped for this, because to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of just rushing into this here. But yeah, welcome everybody to a new series. In this, I'm going to replay End of Dragons. So I've titled it End of Dragons 1 year later. It's technically not a year old yet. It's I think it's like 10 months or something like that, maybe 11 months. It'll be a year old pretty soon. But anyway, most of this year or last year, 2022, I really wasn't playing very much Guild Wars, like at all. Over this Christmas period, I just did a very quick playthrough, and I was kind of amazed how much stuff I'd forgotten, how out of touch I'd become. And that's actually kind of important at the moment, because it looks like, you know, we'll be getting more teasers right before Christmas. We had our first tease, more teasers of the new Living World season, whatever's going to be going on there, whatever the future story is. I've had a few comments from you guys in the recent days, basically saying that you wonder if they'll even use the Living World like brand or idea. And yeah, I'm wondering about that as well. Personally, I hate the idea of Season 6 as a title. Obviously, I want story, but you know, I think Season 6 just sounds terrible. And I think because people who aren't super into the game are just not going to be interested in it, you know, it has all these awful connotations. I just don't like it. And other MMOs have proved you don't really need a name like Season to like sell a patch series. You know, this is just going to be the patch series that comes after Cantha, after End of Dragons, deals with a bit more Cantha, and leads us into a new X-Pack. Does it really need a name? I don't know. But anyway, so the interesting thing for anyone super out of the loop with this year is an expansion came out early in 2022. For the rest of 2022, they focused entirely on Living World Season 1, which is now completely out and is great. And, you know, that's something I've wanted for years and years and years. But the timing was a bit rough because, you know, it's meant that this whole year now we haven't spent any time in Cantha. So I have been playing a bit of Guild Wars, but whenever I have, it's been Season 1 content. It's been stuff from like 2013. And so I'm itching to get more out of this area of the world, as I think a lot of people are. So yeah, that's it really. We're just going to jump on in. I have decided what character we're going to play. Let's scroll on over now. And I am going to try Vindicator. I'm going to try my Rev. So my first ever playthrough was on my Harbinger, who, let's just go to the character select, I guess, for a second here, who I streamed all of that series. Gux here. I had a lot of fun on Harbinger. I really like a lot of the Harbinger builds. And, you know, I kind of wish I was playing it even more, to be honest. I really do. I felt that in love with it. I just did a playthrough on Liz here. Technically, she hasn't actually beaten it, by the way. She's right at the end. She's at the meta event. And that was on Catalyst, which I sort of got more of the hang of, but I'm still a bit iffy about whether I really like it much. Now I want to try, so the last light armor would be a good choice for me, but I don't know. I'm just not that interested in the Virtuoso. So a year later, I have to say, the absolute lowlight of this expansion, and I still feel it very, very strongly, are the elite specs. I really think out of 9 specs, there are only 2 that I'm sort of impressed with. But Vindicator, and Vindicator isn't even one of them. I think in terms of like theme and mechanic pairing, I'm much more interested in stuff like the Mechanist and the Blade Sworn. I think they were done very well. I don't know. I don't want to get into a big elite specialization review because there are things not to like about those 2. But anyway, Vindicator is not necessarily my favorite of the new specs. I think they're all pretty rough. But this one at least will give us a lot of new lore. Because we can commune with Shiro Tagachi as one of our legends, and hopefully he'll talk about Cantha as we go. And also the new legend is a double legend, and both of those heroes, in theory, also will talk about stuff as we go. So I am actually genuinely quite interested to see what they do with that. There is the question of builds. So I had a couple of comments from you guys saying, you know, there are good builds. I went to Meta Battle, which I like to think of as the new PVX. It's a very weird for me to be in that position, but you know, you don't play for enough months and you do sort of fall out of touch with this stuff. There have been balance patches, and I can't say that there's much being very well recommended on Vindicator, but it looks like there's a reasonable damage build. And if we want as well, there are the previous specs, in particular Herald. Oh, we can't see it on the list because I don't have it. But if we played Herald, you know, it spams quickness and stuff now, which seems quite fun. So, I don't know. The reason why I'm interested in the build is not just for open world, but also one of the big updates as the year's gone along that I have not played are the challenge mode versions of the strike missions. I've done all the strikes, but they didn't have, like, the difficult version. I don't even know what the rewards are like for the difficult version. I would love to do that in this series. It might be a challenge, though, because I have absolutely no interest in running or leading a group. So it will just be whatever we can cobble together as these videos go along. Or someone, I don't know, in the Spud Discord can set something up. And, you know, I can play between the videos and show you guys my footage. I don't know. But basically, I have, not, for years and years and years now, I've had no interest in setting up the logistics of 10-man content. In fact, you know what? I was thinking the other day that transition into Heart of Thorns and 10-man really kind of killed a huge chunk of this game for me. Because I'm just, you know, I was alright at 4-man. Well, at 5-man. With 5-man, you can get a couple of mates, people you know. You don't have to be that social or whatever. You can figure it out together. You can have fun. At 10, it's like this whole other scale that I just really, really hate. But yeah, and the strikes are, unfortunately, 10-man. It was something they decided to do at Heart of Thorns that I think has really damaged the game in the years since. But we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to do Vindicator. I don't really know what I want to do with my builds at all. So let's just figure that out first of all here. I can buy it for what it's worth. It's going to cost us $250. We're going to have 16 left over. So we immediately get that. Let's grab our rewards here. So the heirloom gauntlets. I mean, I may... Oh, okay, and I kind of want to wear stuff. I'm in an outfit right now. This is a End of Dragons outfit. And it's an End of Dragons backpack cape as well, which I figure we'll wear for a while. I might not do the whole series on Vindicator. We might play Vindicator for a bit and then try like the new Herald stuff. I don't know, we'll see. But there is a greatsword. Now, we can equip that. So, let's see. You start with the Vindicator's greatsword. You get Dichotomy. That's a cool name, considering we have 2 legends. Oh, it's a bit like the Elemental Sword. I actually do kind of like that. Yeah, I had a bit of fun when I was playing on my Catalyst. You know, constantly getting procs for the Catalyst's hammer. This looks great, though, doesn't it? It'd be really nice to get it. It kind of matches our color scheme as well. So we do get to have fun with the Greatsword. Before End of Dragons came out, they added a bunch of interesting Greatsword skins, too. So let's just slot one of our legendaries so that we'll have good stats. We'll figure out what stats we want. I'll just default us to Berserker for now. 2 sigils. Now, the one sigil I know I really want, okay, is the Endurance sigil. I don't want to get really too bogged down into buildcraft and stuff right now, but Vindicator changes its dodge. It's a bit like the Thief's Daredevil from Heart of Thorns, where you can, like... There are different levels of it, if I remember rightly, from the beta. I haven't played this since the beta, by the way, so there will be some new stuff here for me. But anyway, it's got a big dodge mechanic, so let's take the Sigil of Stamina. Our endurance is refilled every time we kill someone, so we can just dodge spam a lot. Aside from that, I don't really know what I care to have. So no, let's just take a Sigil of Accuracy for now as sort of just generic. Okay, this will feel alright. This is weird. We just have some random infusions sitting around. I guess I'll do 2 Condi infusions, even though they won't even necessarily be that useful. Okay, so yeah, there's a great sword for us. Now, if we go to skin it, what was that? Wait, why isn't this working here? Oh, because we don't have it slotted. So here we go. Vindicator, once we fought each other, now we unite against a common enemy. Channel the Luxon and Kurzik heroes, Archimoris and Saint Victor, to assault your enemies and protect your allies. Instead of dodging, you leap high into the air, crashing down to devastate your foes. I don't know why the leap thing was tied to this, like, theme. But hey, so yeah, we're going to get... I mean, that's the problem with all these elite specs, isn't it, really? We got... Jade C has one guy, Echo Vowed Forest has the other. I don't know how this will work, whether we get hear certain voice lines in the Echo Vowed and certain in the Jade C. And maybe Shiro only talks to us in the city or Xingji Island. I don't know, but we'll see how that looks. Okay, so now that it's legal for our build, we should be able to skin it. Perfect. And the very bottom one is the Vindicator Greatsword, so we'll run that for a while. But like I was saying, there's some good new stuff on the gem store, I think. Well, from like 2021, just before End of Dragons came out, that I kind of want to show as well. This at least looks very shiny. I like that. That looks very good. Okay, let's start a little bit of the story here real quick. Now, I'm kind of advantaged here, because I did just do a playthrough over Christmas I kind of remember how things go. So listen, I'm going to be this is going to be very different to my previous playthrough. If you watched my, like, blind one, you know, that's me in the moment, not knowing what's coming. You know, there were no spoilers or whatever. This playthrough, I don't really care about spoiling, right? We're going to talk about the whole thing. This is like a retrospective, okay? And so, there's no holds barred here, really. So yeah, let's start off with just End of Dragons. Also, I was a bit iffy about doing it on this character because he didn't finish the Icebrood saga and he only did some random patches in Season 4. He didn't finish his personal story. And, you know, there are lots of... One of the great things about End of Dragons, if I remember, is they do have a lot of nice little branches that change your dialogue based on, like... Like, there's a moment in the story where if you've been in the Order of Whispers, you'll talk to another character about having been a spy once. And since I haven't played a bunch of the story, we might miss out on those. I'm interested in doing it on a Norn, though. This character's a Norn. Because I feel like both Char and Norn sort of got the shaft in this expansion. Well, I don't know whether that's the right way of phrasing it, but they were big highlights of the Icebrood saga. So I feel like there's less of them in this expat, because, you know, and that's okay, we can sort of cool off of them. There's a lot of fun dialogue about the Sylvari coming here and Canthan's take on them, but I want to see how much, in theory, the Canthans should be really interested in seeing a Norn too, right? Or a Char, or an Asura, because in theory they haven't really been around there, so I'd love to see some lines of dialogue about that. So yeah, we'll see. Alright, anyway, so yeah, let's kick it up, and if you guys remember, it's going to start with a cool cutscene that recaps the whole story. So look, if some people have just clicked on this video and you're thinking, am I really interested? Hopefully this, I mean, I was very impressed by this. This is the end of the whole story, right? The entire Elder Dragon arc, it's seeds being sown in Guild Wars 1. I mean, Eye of the North, really, is a part of the Elder Dragon arc as far as I'm concerned. So we're talking well over a decade of storytelling. It's all coming to a conclusion here, and they did a great recap at the start. I remember this being good. 5 Elder Dragons are dead, and with each death, more magic has been released into Tyria. While most passed to Aurene, the rest vanished. After an exhaustive period of research, Dragon's Watch has finally had a breakthrough. So if you remember, right before the expansion as well, there were all those little conversations that you could have. Let's make sure the effects volume's high for the cutscene. There were all those little conversations that you could have with, like, Timey and Gorrik as they were researching stuff. And I think they sort of appear a little bit in this cutscene here.
Research log 428. Latest results still inconclusive. Elder dragons awaken, consume magic, and leave nothing but annihilation in their wake.
I love the shots they picked of all the dragons here.
It's always been. The dragon cycle. Unimaginable suffering through the ages. Countless lives shattered.
I mean,
instead of uniting, some capitalized on chaos.
I'll say it in a minute. Good little bit with Scarlet there. Obviously now Season 1's in, this is all really familiar to us, but when we played this at the start of 2022, it was, you know, a lot more novel, I think.
But some of us fought back.
That's a great moment there.
Heroes across Tyria banded together. We came from different corners, but shared a vision of a better tomorrow.
I love this shot here too.
Not everyone made it.
See how that's 3 dramatic deaths all around Heart of Thorns?
From an unexpected place. Aurene, who we raised from an egg. With the prismatic dragon on our side, we have a chance. A chance to finally break the dragon cycle.
Another shot of Zaitan's good.
We've slain 5 elder dragons. But what's the right path forward? Every elder dragon death has made the whole system more unstable.
Those orbs are a part of End of Dragons too.
We tried to keep balance by replacing them, but that turned out to be impossible. We're running out of time for answers. I'm running out of time.
It's weird that in this cutscene they sort of talk about her illness and it's not really
One
emphasized.
elder dragon is out there somewhere. I don't know what awaits us.
Later in the expansion itself. Yeah, so what I wanted to say there is I kind of have another level of appreciation for that cutscene.
Something's happening,
Oh.
and I'd like to discuss it in person. Also, if I'm honest, I wouldn't mind seeing your face again in person. Don't let that go to your head.
Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to play, as always, because I have no way of knowing if they're randomly going to start talking or not. But yeah, I kind of like that cutscene because for a long time, I've made so many different versions of videos where I'm trying to recap the whole story in a cinematic and fun way. There, they managed to get an in-universe version of it. They picked brilliant shots. I don't know who directed that cutscene or like picked all the pieces for it, but really, it's pretty good. So yeah, we start off with Aurene. I was fascinated on my first playthrough of this, of all the different things that Aurene might end up doing in this expansion. I have to be honest, on replay, I find this all quite hollow. Because, look, I don't want this to be a whinge fest or whatever, but one thing that I was disappointed with this expansion was, as far as my memory goes, how they left the Aurene story. Like, nothing really interesting happened with her at all. In terms of her ultimate fate. And actually, I think that the place the story's at now, after this expansion's over, is still in the same place where it's like, well, what's Aurene going to do? I mean, is she just going to leave us? Is she going to walk? I mean, so, I don't know. There was a lot of subject material I thought this X-Pack was going to do that didn't in the end. In a minute, she's going to talk about how she doesn't know if she's going to die, essentially, because she can't see past a certain point, and I don't know, it all ends a bit lamely, I think. But here we go. Let's see what she's got for us. And I'll stop all the...
It's wonderful to see you. Even with Jormak and Primordius gone, I noticed Tyrion's still standing. Seems the Exalted were a bit off in their predictions. Disaster hasn't struck. Yet.
The world does feel different, though. Can't put my finger on it. Like, change is coming. Real change.
I feel it too, Champion. That's why I wanted to see you. I've begun to perceive something. A distant presence. An ancient presence. It's a ripple in the mists. Like a dolphin in the deep, sounding to sense what's out there, and I want to respond. But before I do, I check my visions. All my possible futures converge to one point. Today.
And you can't see past it.
And I can't see past it.
Are you sure? Does it mean you die?
I'm not sure of anything, except my urge to respond, to say, yes, I'm here.
You're not scared?
I'm intrigued. I'm intensely curious. And even if I die, we know I won't stay dead.
We think.
Whatever it is, I can handle it. I just wanted to tell you, before it all begins.
How does it begin?
I'm not sure, but I know it involves Tiny and Gorrik.
Then I'll talk to them.
It's a great setup. I love the ... before it begins. It really does feel quite tense. Quite exciting. I'll say another little whinge here immediately. I mean, it's something that people have talked about forever. But again, I was very much struck when I played this over Christmas. You know, it's weird having a big break from the game. By the way, okay, my break from the game was not that as big as I thought it was, really. Just so that you guys know, a quick little side note. Kate sent us this mail here. She says, I know you've been busy, what with the Char insurrection and killing of Elder Dragons, but I think you might want to come to the Eye of the North. And that's from Keith, and she sent us a single-use thing. So I cleared out my mail very lazily about an hour ago, just before I started recording this. So my mail, I had something like 20, 30, 50 mails from you guys, the community, people, just players. Just unbelievable amount of mails, and it was clearly completely logged up. They were all time-stamped 9 months ago. and I hadn't looked at my mail. So 9 months, so it was not actually a whole year really, it was 3/4 of a year. And it was a lot of people talking about End of Dragons and stuff. Lots of people requesting invites to the guild that never got responses, never got invites, just terrible really. So anyone who sent me a mail, and a bunch of people sent like money and stuff, I've just hit return to sender and deleted all those mails from 9 months ago, because I don't even trust that those people are around anymore 9 months later. They might not be, right? You know, I think a lot of people that come around the launch of an expansion tend to be fair weather players. There was one mail that I left. It's from this person. I don't recognize this username. They said Tyrannosaurus, temporarily offline. I just want to let you know I'll be temporarily offline for about 3 months due to work. And they sent me a stack of coins. This wasn't even a guild invite or anything. I thought, just bizarre. But I had a bunch of these, see, and you got 9 months old. I thought I'd leave this so you guys can see the timestamp. Apparently, if your mail gets too clogged and you've been too unresponsive because you're such a dickhead, as I've been this past year, they just stop allowing you to receive mails at all, which has kind of been a godsend because I was expecting to have to go through hundreds. There is a cap, it seems, and that cap's now open, so I never saw any other mails. They were all 9 months old. I'm going to return these to this person, and hopefully they're back. I had a birthday gift, and we're basically empty now. Oh, also, I got these, I think from ArenaNet. Now that my mail was unclogged, they came through. 10 transmutation charges. And apparently I purchased a mini gift. I don't think I did do that, though. So I'm not sure if that's someone who gifted me these at some point recently. But, yeah. And then this from customer support. Champion's Rest Pass. This message is an item or replacement for something else on my account. I mean, I really don't know. But anyway, so yeah. 9 months is the actual timestamp. Back to what I was talking about. So I spent 9 months away. And what I was struck by this Christmas after 9 months is how much I don't like Aurene. I mean, I'm going to be very blunt about it. I don't like her voice. I don't like her design. I was really sort of just a bit bummed out by it. And it was amazing because it came screaming at me so much stronger than anything I'd felt. Constantly keeping tabs of the game and playing it closely. I think I just sort of let certain things that I don't like about it sort of not really bother me much. But man, I thought, wow. And you know what? My mind ended up drifting in this opening conversation here. So, you know, the original plan was that Aurene wouldn't speak. Cantha would speak for her. And then they U-turned on it because of a certain scene they wanted to play out differently in Dragonfall. You know, at the end of Season 4. I kind of think it would be much more captivating if Aurene didn't have this voice. And if we had been communicating through Cantha somehow. And it seemed a lot more primal and... I don't know, I just wonder how the whole story would have felt if it had been written in that different way. But yeah, that's basically all I'm going to do. I'm not going to spend this entire series whining about Aurene, but it was amazing, and I did want to reflect on that just when I came back, I just straight away thought, oh, I don't know, it was very, very rough. But anyway, we've got a big conversation with her here. We can have some extra details. We have a lot to catch up on?
I've been thinking about these past months. Primordus and Jormak, Bangar and Ryland. I made a conscious choice not to involve myself. As a nascent elder dragon, I was wary of my own power. But lately I've wondered, was that the right choice?
Someone in the live chat, by the way, to people in the live chat, by the way, which I do hope to respond to and look at a bit more regularly, said there's a 10 mail limit. Well, there's a limit here, a mini limit, but there's also a buffer behind the scenes of mails that get caught up in a buffer. And I don't know what the buffer ends at, but I think it's between 30 and 50. Also, even that 10 is a lie because, like, this is more than 10. You can see here already that NPC mails and stuff go on top. About your visions.
Right. Remember my visions of our battle with Gorrik?
Well, they all ended the same, with your death. And you couldn't see past it.
Just like Glint. But, of course, that was before I...
Hate an unkillable Lich King?
I loved all this originally.
I can self-resurrect. Glint couldn't. Gorrik couldn't. Once again, my visions converge. Except I don't see my death in any of them. They just... stop. Does that mean anything? Change anything? Is this time different? I don't know. But I can't wait to find out.
And presumably neither can we, the players. Yeah, I really like a lot of what they did here. I still am impressed by this. If you watch my original playthrough, you know, I feel the same now. This was such a well-written opening in that it reminded us about the Joko situation, because there was, I think for years, honestly, since she ate Joko, there was a really long period where it was kind of like, are we supposed to think about this? Isn't she kind of immortal? And there was so much uncertainty about what areas of the lore we should be thinking about. And here, because they explicitly talk about it at the start of the expansion, especially, I think it really, really does a lot to make you think, no, it's okay to speculate about the Lich resurrection, and it's okay to remember these moments in Season 4 where she was prophesizing her own death back then. So, yeah, I really liked that. And they do it pretty quick as well. It's pretty time economical, so I still like it a lot.
Commander.
Hello, Keith.
Oh, you're back. That's, good. That's great.
Is she...
Something to do with Gorrik.
Yeah, okay, so Gorrik and I have been up here doing research, looking for a way to end the dragon cycle. Cause, like, who needs that noise every 10,000 years, am I right? So many dead people, and the cleanup is insane.
You were talking about Gorrik.
Right. Gorrik got a message from an old colleague.
Ah.
An old Inquest colleague.
Ah.
Anka. Anka. He's mentioned her a couple times. I've never met her. Says she was tracking Jormag and Primordus.
Ah.
She has some data. Would he like to see it? She'll trade it to us.
For what?
Doesn't specify for what. Red flag. Come meet her at Lorner's Pass alone. Second red flag.
So, Anka offers him something she knows he'd want without asking for something in return?
Yes.
Why would she do that?
Exactly.
Oh. She likes him.
Exactly.
Why do you care?
I don't know.
But you don't trust her.
Why should I?
Why indeed?
I'm sorry, are you worried for Gorrik's safety?
Yes. I'm worried for Gorrik's safety.
You want me to go find him at the pass? Bring him back?
Alchemy! Would you, please? Thank you, Commander.
I quite like Keith in this scene. If you read Edge of Destiny, she does not and a lot of Sylvari with a naivety, they just don't understand social situations at all and cues. And it's kind of cool here. She says, oh, Anka likes Gorrik. And when you've played the expansion, you'll know it's actually the reverse, you know, it's Gorrik still kind of likes her, or sort of is still a bit conflicted about it, and that's why Timey's jealous and stuff. But Kate's alright in that scene. I quite like her.
You came.
You asked.
I like that you trusted me.
Why wouldn't I?
I haven't always earned it. Being back at the Grove was different this time. I know we Sylvari tend to come off as sophisticates of the highest order.
Oh, indeed.
But the truth is, even we Firstborn have only been around for 30-odd years. Our culture is immature, emotionally. Knowledge we have, but knowledge and wisdom are different things. I think back to when I was with Fowlin. I don't recognize that person. I had no idea who I was.
I want to talk about that line in a second.
Changed everything. I'm a parent. Of a sort, anyway. Being back among them, I realized I don't belong there anymore. My world, my perspective have
Broadened.
I knew you would understand.
So there's a thing about this, right? Well, first of all, I just want to say this is a really weird scene in retrospect, I think, because you spend a lot of time talking to characters that don't even have major roles in the X-Pack. And that's not a criticism. Not everything I say I'm criticizing this, by the way. It's just an observation. But, you know, we'll go see Ritlock in a second. And Ritlock is just not a part of this story, really. They open it all up with Keith here, and, you know, Keith has a minimal role. Even Timey, I would say, has a minimal role. At a certain point, she sort of steps back into it a bit. But yeah, I kind of like that about this scene. Anyway, yeah, there's another thing that's really striking me about Guild Wars. And I think it's actually beautifully encapsulated here by Keith's little comment. I don't recognize who I was when I was with Fowlane. it's almost like they're saying we want to move on from that, and that's fine. You know, her characters should develop. People should develop their characters. But I kind of get a vibe with most of the cast of this game, where it feels like their stories are already complete. I think that's the big problem I've been having with Guild Wars in, like, investing and getting really interested in these characters. It feels like ArenaNet have had really interesting ideas of things to do with them. Oh god, we're wearing the Super Adventure Box thing. And it feels like all their arcs are done. So now it's like everyone's in there happily ever after almost. And so they're kind of boring to be around in a way, you know? Like, I just sort of get that sense. Timey is great as one of the only characters that still feels like she's in the middle of an arc of sorts, you know? Well, two of them, maybe sort of getting closer to Gorrik and then obviously her illness. But a lot of other characters, they feel... Ritlock especially. Ritlock is one of the worst for that. Oh, speaking of Ritlock, yeah, that cutscene where the clip they chose where they said, but eventually we fought back, and you saw Ritlock and Logan grasp one another in Citadel of Flames. I really love that they picked that shot, because to me, I feel like that is the big moment where things turn around, the first little spark of hope. You know, a lot of the early dungeon stories, Destiny's Edge is scattered, and the whole thing about core, and ultimately, therefore, can we fight back against the Elder Dragons at all, is about getting these heroes to reunite. And it's like failure at Ascalon Catacombs, failure at CM, failure at TA, failure at Sorrows, and then finally the moment happens where two of the unlikeliest characters, Logan and Ritlock, finally, you know, we get a big tick mark, and they actually, they save each other, and then, you know, that's the turning of the tides, right? That really is. That's the first beat. And it's kind of buried in core. But I do think that that's the first big turn of the tides. I mean, for the other side of the story, the Traherne arc, obviously, is Claw Island and winning there. But, oh, sorry, I should have put an arrow here. But I really think that's great. And there's a nice cinematic moment. And I love seeing, in End of Dragons 2022, whoever it was that directed that cutscene, I think they really understand the story to have picked that moment. That moment, you really have to know the whole story to identify that as the true point, the first point of Turn on the Tides, I think. So I love that one shot in there. I can't remember if that came across for me back at the start of the year, but it certainly does on replay. Anyway, let's get some timey drivel. No, it's just, you know, whatever she wants to chat about. Probably Gorrik. It's good to see you again.
Gang's back together, huh? I mean, not the whole gang, obviously. Ritlock, Kaz and Jory.
Timing.
Ram's at the lodge. Logan's back in Krata. Kanaka's with Saida. Zafiro with the Zaishin.
Timing.
Garm is with Ram. Aaron Snapper dead. I don't know where the heck Zoja is.
Timey!
Brilliant line there,
I'll
the
get
Zoja
Gorrik.
thing, obviously. Still
It's
is.
going to be okay.
I know.
Oh, I love that I know there as well. Yeah, I mean, this is still great, right? It's just like the Joko Lich eating death stuff. Oh, are we supposed to speculate about Zoja being gone? Like, what is that? Should we? It's interesting to think that when I first played this, there was the potential Zoja would be in the story. She wasn't in the end, which is, you know, whatever. But now, what do you guys think? I mean, over to the live chat, I'm genuinely curious. Do you guys think that there's a good chance for her in Season 6? Since there is a very explicit conversation about her here. Oh, man. You know the opening trailer for End of Dragons with Anka on the airship? Imagine if we get a big trailer for Season 6, whatever form that takes, where Zoja is in it. Zoja, they do like a similar shot like the Anka shot, but it's Zoja this time. How cool would that be? I'm definitely holding out for that beat. I am genuinely really excited to see her. There are a couple of big mysteries that no matter how many months I haven't played the game, I'm still like, yeah, this is something I'm looking forward to. And I like that that's outstanding. My guess, guys, is if Zoja isn't in this season, she was definitely in the next X-Pack. You can put that down as a prediction. I really do feel that way. Oh, we had a $10 donation. Thank you. From Eddie. Thanks for the entertainment. On a side note, I'm pretty excited to marathon the Tomb Raider series that I've got going on. Oh, that's awesome, man. That's actually quite close to ending. I think there's probably like 4 episodes left, so it's a good time to pick up a marathon on that. Thank you. I did Tomb Raider because it's an outstanding thing that I've wanted to do for a long time. And there are some people out there that will find it and enjoy it, I hope, over the coming years. And I'm glad to be doing it. It's a fun game, too, in its own ways. All right, okay. How's the research going?
Not bad. considering it's mostly speculation. There's so much we don't know, or don't know we don't know.
You have Aurene.
And she's been super helpful, but she's only one elder dragon, and not exactly typical of the species. We have so many questions. How did she ascend? Where did the others come from? Are there any more out there?
The Priory thought there was at least one more. The water dragon.
Draconology is an evolving field of study. Hypotheses must be supported by evidence. They live their lives on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Some days I wonder if they're knowable at all.
But, like you said, we have Aurene.
And she makes all the difference.
This is really interesting here. So they open the expansion with the big ticket conversation pieces, right? And so how long-lived the Elder Dragons are is a great place to go. Because what I now know is we're going into a story about the mother of the Elder Dragons. The Proto-Elder Dragon, if you will, which is also one of the 6. You know, there's a lot that they sort of squeeze together all at once to be time economical or whatever with it. And I think it's really interesting that they open it with Timey saying, they live their lives on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Some days I wonder if they're knowable at all, which is brilliant to me, and I really like that perspective on Elder Dragons. But ultimately, what they're going to tell us in this expansion is they're absolutely knowable. Basically, you know, the tragedy of the story is, you know, it's like the sob story here is, you know, it was a lonely creature. Sue 1 is a lonely creature that wanted some companions. It's kind of like a story, it's a very intimate, very relatable story about motherhood, you know. That's really what the story became about in the end. And it kind of just throws in the bin this whole idea that they're not knowable. I think one of my big criticisms when I last played End of Dragons, and I think it continues to be true, is that I don't like how small scale everything ended up feeling. I mean, that was naturally going to happen. They have to conclude it, right? But I sort of think that it was the duty of this X-Pack on some level to talk about prior risings a bit more. And it didn't, you know. Really, we still only have information about this cycle and the one before with the Massat and the Seers and the Jotun. They didn't go deeper than that, and I really wish they had, just on some level. And I think the other thing, and we'll see it as this series goes along, that I really, really struggled with the End of Dragons is how sympathetic they seem to want me to be to Sue 1. And I just couldn't get into that place emotionally at all. Like, I think they wanted me to forget about the billions of deaths or whatever that have happened over hundreds of thousands of years, and I didn't like that hand waving. But we'll see here. But what I think is interesting is they're not really hand waving at all here at the start. How have you been feeling, Timey?
Ups and downs. Could do with fewer of the downs. Some days I wake up feeling like it's gonna take 9 bolts to the brain pan to get me out of bed, you know? But most days are fine, and we don't need to talk about the other days.
Have you been getting any rest?
Not enough.
That's not true. Okay, yes, that's true. I'm just getting so close to figuring out where all that magic went. That's not a good excuse, though. More rest, fewer symptoms, happier Timey.
All right, there you go. Gorrik will be okay. I think Aurene has more for us now as well. I think there is a new thing. By the way, the UI is a bit heavy here. I understand that. I'm trying to give you guys stuff to look at, like the dialogue I'm having here on the bottom left. In case you guys miss it, you can read back. I don't know. Do you know what? For all these years I've made Guild Wars 2 stuff, I've never actually had a comment of someone saying that that's useful or not. But I assume it might be. I talked to Timey.
Gorrik left to meet up with an old Inquest colleague, who Timey doesn't know, doesn't trust. For reasons unclear.
They've worked closely for a while now, and they share a bond of loss. Years since they lost Blesh. But grief heals eventually.
I like that line there as well about
Especially
years since they lost
together.
Blish.
None of it seems to have anything to do with
Gives you a bit more perspective about where Season 4
And I
was.
still can't see past today. It's exhilarating, not knowing what's coming.
Well, maybe for you. Okay, I'm off to Lornar's Pass to save Gorrik's virtue.
I like the small-scale intro to this as well. Let's start with just a silly little bit of drama between these two that even the commander knows But Aurene has assured us this is leading to something big. And I kind of do like that. God, there's so much in the live chat I want to respond to here. Something with the Stone Summit in the next season. They turned up in the Icebreed Saga and then vanished. Maybe. I mean, it's an idea. But I don't know, really. I mean, so much about the Icebreed Saga seems... I don't know. They might. I don't really know where amazing they could go with it, but... You know, I really want to see something dramatic with Guild Wars. Probably more dramatic than is possible. Like some kind of a time jump or something, and then we can look at these factions and what's going on politically with the world, because there's just no interesting politics. Everything's settled. All the characters' journeys are settled, and all the politics are settled. That's why now, when you see people speculating about where the story's going to go, it's always the mists or alternate dimensions, other Tyrias and stuff. It's because there's no more Guild Wars 1 lore for people to latch onto, and by that I mean the community. And then also everything else feels just like, you know, we're in our happily ever after. So there has to be a big... something has to shake the world.
Victor and I were somewhat famous back in the
Oh,
day.
here. Oh.
We also conquered a god.
Correction. Shiro thought he was a god, but I assure you he was not.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What's the difference?
Oh, that's a good line. I like that. What is the difference? That's kind of the point, isn't it, really? And that's been a big theme with some of the early games. I like that a lot. Yeah, so I don't know, some kind of big shake-up or like, I mean, something big. I do like the idea of an alternate Tyria, in as much as world versus world lore is already pretty much established that it's viable and possible and common. So it's not like it would be like lore breaking or whatever, but also it means you could get a really interesting alternate take. You know, a take closer to the movement of the world where the Norn and the humans don't like each other, or things had panned out a bit differently. I don't know, maybe it's a bit tropey for MMOs to do alternate dimensions. Thinking obviously about 14 and World of Warcraft have both had their share of that sort of stuff. But I think, or like mirror worlds. But I think I would be excited to see that. If it meant that now there were a ton of maps and stuff, I don't know. It could be pretty exciting. And then, of course, there's just the basic idea of, oh, well, let's just go to another continent, or another island. Who would we dare declare something a continent? They're not all here. You'd have to data mine, right? But there's not Guild Wars 1 base and just see them do something new. But I kind of like the idea of the mirrored Tyria, just in as much as it's still about the Norn and the Char and the Sylvari and the Asura. Those are the poster children of this story, right? It's just now the threat is not Elder Dragons, it's something else. I think keeping it about Tyrians, and these races and these people, I think is very cool. Yeah, like, so a mirror Tyria where the dwarves never went away. A mirror Tyria where there was never any Elder Dragons at all. Therefore, there's no Great Destroyer prophecy or anything like that, and the dwarves are still around or something. You know, there's any number of things like that could happen. A mirror Tyria where there were no Sylvari. So when you're playing a Sylvari and you're visiting the alternate dimension, there's all of that juiciness to tie into. A mirror Tyria where there was no Elder Dragons, or could still be live and thriving. Actually, I think that's such the more I talk about it, the more I like that idea. You know, they just finished the Elder Dragon saga, so now let's visit a reflection of Tyria where there were never Elder Dragons in the first place. The Forgotten is still around or something? I don't know. The Forgotten might be an iffy one. They might have receded from everywhere, including all missed locations. Anyway, let's get Kazma here. Commander, good to see you. Good to see you too.
Detective Delacroix and Lady Mead. Or is it Ambassador Mead now?
No title yet. I managed not to screw up the Icebreed War. Queen gave me a little more rope is all.
You helped bring humans and Char together. Got the code and invested in the fight, and Jenna knows it.
Maybe. Nice to think so.
If only they didn't resolve the Char so recently, they could properly explore it. Yeah, I think it's just that's the issue with Guild Wars. I think for a lot of the stuff we've seen feels like it's in service of moving to another game, and then the other game doesn't happen, and now it's like, well, you've burned your best storylines, you know? Or done too many storylines too quick. I have to hope, I don't know about, do you guys think I'm naive for this? I have to hope. They really seem to want to rush out of the Elder Dragon stuff. They must be so desperate to tell something new, right? They must have a really good other idea. Don't you guys think? Am I just an idiot for thinking that? I don't know. I like to believe that. Anyway, let's catch up.
We haven't had much time to really talk since Spengar's convocation.
Oh my gods. The Metal Legion concert.
Then things got busy.
Things have always been busy. Ever since we were tracking Kralkatorrik.
Trying to clean up his mess. Towns destroyed. Refugee camps. Close my eyes, I can see the faces. It was... a lot.
Coming on the heels of Cormyr and the other gods leaving us all to fend for ourselves.
We see how well that's gone.
Lots of people saying yes in the chat. I don't know though. Look, to rush through a story 15 years in the making, when this is the only IP your studio supports, is fucking bonkers. All right, it just is. I mean, it is insane. So I think the only way we can interpret that is from within their... Internally, they probably never thought they were rushing anything. Internally, they thought Dragonstorm was fine, or whatever. And I don't know what that says. I mean, that's a whole other thing to think about, I suppose. But, I mean, to think, oh, it's because they got something better going on. I mean, really think about what we're saying there, that they want to rush through such a long build-up for a big story to get to what? What can... I mean, I don't know. I can buy the idea that there's a lot of fresh minds there, a lot of fresh blood, a lot of new people who just aren't interested in being beholden to the past, who feel like there's just too much baggage and too much weight, you know, with all the old storylines, and they just want to do something fresh. I can understand that. I can understand from a business perspective, oh, you're not getting new customers because this story's too complicated and too long. I can understand all those ideas. I don't think that business argument really makes much sense in the face of a game like FF14, which just became more and more and more successful the longer its story went on, and it has the worst told story I've ever seen in a game with A Realm Reborn. But hey, things have been hard.
You're not being fair to
I was shiny and shallow.
This is a weird line. Carrie said that the other day, and I agree with her.
Who ran when you needed me most?
And I forgave you. A long time ago. You have to forgive yourself.
Working on it.
See, do you get the happily ever after vibe? I mean, it just feels very... Like, I'm not particularly compelled by the idea of watching mostly settled characters wrestle with tiny little wriggles in their, you know, constitutional personality at this point, you know? Ritlock, I can't remember how cool he is in this conversation. Let's see. Commander, I was about to head out, so... Ritlock, how are you holding up after Ryland?
I've had some time to sit with everything. Spent some time with Kree.
You never really got to know your son. Not the way you wanted.
No. But I think that's the point. Bangar was right. Char don't have sons. Kree knew that. Kept her objective. What I wanted, I was never gonna get from Ryland. It wasn't about him, it was about me. What I need. I couldn't see past the hole I was trying to fill. The more I pushed, the more he pulled away. I made it all worse.
Ryland was a grown Char. He made his choices.
I know. And I did what had to be done. Now, his fight is over. Me? I don't know.
There's time. You'll figure it out.
Do you know what?
Working on it.
See, the whole working on it thing. Do you know what? I'm such a vain, shallow person. Genuinely. This conversation reads a lot better to me as with a Norn and a Char than when I'm my little goddamn Asura. When Liz was in this conversation playing therapist, I was just thinking that doesn't really make much sense. But here I sort of feel like we're bros or something. I mean, isn't that awful? But I genuinely feel like the conversation reads better with me as a Norn. That's so strange. Kree is awesome, by the way. I still have to say, alright, as much as the Icebrood Saga did wrong, it introduced two really awesome Char that I am just all about. I think Kree was really great. I think Bangar is one of my all-time favorite characters, and I think Ryland as well, and the twist that they had with, you know, it seemed so obvious that Ryland was going to run away to his daddy and, you know, be absolved or whatever, but he just ended up a prick, and they had that really metal ending of Ritlock and Kree killing their cub. I thought those elements of the Icebrood Saga, in terms of just like the direction of them, the idea of them, I think is really good. And and they're very grim, and they're really cool, and they give me high hopes for the future of this story and the future of this franchise. More stuff like that. Unfortunately, neither Bangar nor Krisha are in this expansion, but you know, I still think that Icebrood Saga can be used to extrapolate from and guess at what the future tone of the story will be like. Tell me about Krisha. How's she doing?
Things are still tense, but she's good. Great under the circumstances. Hands full with paperwork. Keeps her busy. Thinks a couple of the Imperators are already vying for Connor. Hope it doesn't get ugly. We've been through a lot. Of course, I'm biased, but if you ask me, they already got a pretty good candidate.
For what it's worth, I think you're right. Might be time for all of us to put away old divisions.
Listen to us.
See you here
Couple
again.
old soldiers going soft.
We fight because we have to, not because we want to. That was Bangar's mistake.
Add it to the list. But yeah, might be time. I think I'm ready to plant my tail in one place for a while. And just process.
It's like all these characters are at their endings or something, you know. Look, I don't envy them. It must be so hard to map out characters that you push a bit but don't go too far with over multiple products, over multiple years. It must be so difficult. But, you know, Guild Wars really is struggling with this, I think. This idea that the characters are no longer compelling because they're all sort of concluded. The other side of it as well is when characters just go missing, and I think that's more logistics and, again, improper planning. But, like, you know, when Canuck just goes missing because of voice actor issues, or when Rox just goes missing and then pops up later and says, oh, by the way, I've been having my happily ever after in the Sandswept Isles. You know, there's just some oddness about that. Who knows when we'll next see Ritlock? Am I even excited to see Ritlock anymore? Honestly, I don't like the character anymore. I really don't. I think he's wholly uninteresting. Now, if we go to Mirror Tyria and there's a badass Ritlock again, you know, with all of his issues, I'll find that entertaining again. But yeah, Miss Stranger here, by the way, of course. Continues to tantalize me and make me wonder where they're going, because I feel like maybe there's something going up with that. And the season 1 reintro obviously included him as well. Well, I don't want to do Dragonstorm. Let's not think about Dragonstorm. Why does the POI bring us here? Oh, this is quite interesting. The Tower of Nightmares, the Battle for Lion's Arch, and the Twisted Marionette. All 3 of them. He's not even standing near the scrying pool, but fine. Alright, we'll figure out our build now, because there's actual gameplay here now. Well, no, I think it's all valid gameplay, even if you're standing around talking to various characters. Hopefully I didn't forget anyone or miss anyone there. It's been better doing this here 9 months later, by the way. Because at launch, there were just billions of players everywhere, standing around with their mounts, and you couldn't see any of the characters. Speaking of which, by the way, I wonder if the mega server thing is better now or not. Now, when I played this over Christmas, it was a bit weird. We kept getting kicked out of maps really fast, and I'm not sure what that's all about. This is still really interesting to me, by the way, that they picked this area. I mean, it almost seems arbitrary, doesn't it? That, oh, we're just going to start the expansion here in Lorna's Pass. I suppose it's not arbitrary. The point is they wanted some kind of road with a vista where the hologram can get pulled down and you'll see all the ships out of nowhere. And there's probably only a limited number of areas in the game they can do that. They probably wanted it somewhat central, somewhere they can expect new players will have been to. So Lorna's Pass is what it ended up as. Alright, let's figure this out. Okay, instead of dodging, we do a powerful blow from above. So that's a minor, so it will always be a powerful blow. However, the Grandmasters do change it, right? Death drop. Drop from above, delivering a massive strike. It gives us a buff, Forerunner of Death, which is plus 15% damage for the next few seconds. I like that, a 15% modifier. Or we can grant boons and apply chill. Vassals of the Empire. That one is. Oh, and extend boon duration for allies upon landing, but only 1 second. Prot Might and Chill. That sounds like that would have a fun animation to see, at least, and it does. You can see it back there. And Saint of Zuhelzer. Barrier and Healing. Split 50-50. Half healing, half barrier. And we get 20% benevolence afterwards as well. So there's a DPS one, a boon one, and a healing one. I guess let's open with Death Drop and we'll play with the other ones later. Gain increased power while we're at high health. Oh, and increase healing power. Yeah, so this is a split DPS and healing thing, so... Gain health and boons when swapping legends. Regen, pretty boring. Gain endurance for each target affected by my dodge. Does that include enemies? Reaver's Curse, that's a cool name for a trait. The Reavers obviously being Luxons that were digging too deep and became, you know, super dangerous outcasts ultimately, I think, if I remember rightly. Deal increased damage when our endurance is not full, very Daredevil-y. Right, let's just take the top line. I don't want to bore people with this. As for our other lines, let's take Devastation. I mean, we don't necessarily need to pair Devastation with Shiro, but I am going to add Shiro here. Because he'll speak to us about some other fun stuff. Let's take the Life Steal, Dance of Death. I don't know if this has been nerfed. Whenever we apply Vuln, we get Battle Scars. Battle Scars heals us. Looks okay. Gain Battle Scars in combat. Or Fury. I guess I'll keep the Battle... Let's just play Battle Scars for now and see where that takes us. And for our last line, we can go... Invocation for just general buffs. Or we can go Retribution for tankiness. Let's do Invocation. Oh yeah, let's take a Song of the Mist. So what is the call of the of the Alliance? Call of the Alliance. Gain endurance and strike damage around us. Gaining bonus endurance for each enemy. Okay, yes, that might just be overkill on the endurance, but we'll see. Swift Boon. What do we get from the Alliance? Vigor. Interesting. And then let's just take Rising Tide here. Also, lastly, I think a cool rune for us to take would be Fireworks. Because on the T6, you see we get more vigor out of these. So hopefully that applies all across. It might not. Oh, it did. Perfect. And then, by the way, for Sigil... Oh, no, not Sigil. I just had a goddamn thought and I've lost it now. Oh, for our other weapon, let's pick up a staff. Break bars, block. It's just good stuff. And this is Berserker. I might end up dying, and we can try some other stats. Don't really know what I care for here, so let's just put energy on it, because it's kind of an old shit thing. And paralyzation. Will that increase our staff CC against break bar? Not sure, can't remember. Alright, there we go. Let's run on in now. Old friends. What was I going to set up a second ago? I really can't remember. Oh, we probably want to skin that off of the Bifrost as well. I usually like to go with a scythe on a...
Wait up!
Commander? What are you doing here?
Just thought you could use the company.
Seems implausible.
So, tell me about this old friend you're meeting.
Yeah, Gorrik, we want to hear all about Anka.
Spare no detail.
Anka? She's an old colleague from my time at Thaumanova. We had a highly productive collaboration.
Thaumanova was great in this X-Pack. I loved that about this X-Pack.
Mild heart arrhythmia when we were working together. But as Blish always said, don't masticate where you hibernate.
What?
Or something. I'm paraphrasing. Anyway, I lost touch with her years ago, after she left the inquest. We haven't spoken since.
You know, Gorrik, passion can mature in absence. Like an exquisite wine.
No, nothing like that. Just two ex-colleagues sharing research on a problem. And Commander, we do have a problem. Tiny and I have been working on a hypothesis about elder dragons and magic, but with most gone, data is hard to come by. We're on Terra Incognita. Anka is offering, and we need all the knowledge we can get.
Gorrik was fantastic in this too. So she was brilliant as well.
Take a look at you. You haven't changed a bit.
Nor you. Anka, allow me to introduce...
Oh, I know. It's an honor, Commander. Any friend of Gorik's is a friend of mine.
Quite the charmer.
Right back at you.
Feels like only yesterday we were side by side, two interns working to push the boundaries of science.
Those were the days.
I meant to reach out after what happened. I did. But there was this plague, beetles incubating in people's faces.
It was a long time ago.
A lot's happened since then.
I like that
I'm
reference
happy
to all
to
the
see you're
Scarab Lake
well,
stuff from
and
season
eager to
4.
see this new data of yours.
That's... yeah...
Her voice is quite interesting here, because you know...
I made that up.
She what?
Made it up? But you said you don't have a passion for elder dragons?
More of a professional interest. One in particular. I think you know her.
Wait a second.
You do want something.
Afraid I do. Me and my Aetherblades.
I mean, this was a great scene.
Bye, Commander.
Hey!
So yeah,
Gorrik! Aetherblade! Inquest Natch! I knew she couldn't be trusted!
God, I'm gonna have to remember how this works. If I remember, the 2 is like a slap. Before I kill this guy here, yeah, great scene with that coming down. It's interesting on replay knowing just how fake Anka is being there. Oh god, yeah, this is our dodge now. But she really is a highlight of the X-Pack. So it's quite cool on replay as well. Oh, that was a lot of damage. 18k, and I haven't really even set anything up. Here's Aurene flying.
Come, champion. We'll catch them.
Aurene, hold on. We need a plan.
There's no time! They took Gorrik!
You can come with me, or I can go alone. Either way. But I'm not staying out of the fight this time.
Scion and Champion.
Scion and champion.
See, this was good as well, because it's like they knew that the community were desperate to actually see Aurene do stuff, you know? Not just be a battery, but to actually move around, actually interact with the world, actually participate in the fight. And they're kind of like immediately kicking it off. I am sort of, in retrospect, I think, disappointed we didn't get a Season 4 style sequence where, you remember when we were flying on Earth fighting Kralkatorrik? That was such a cool sequence. It would have been quite nice, I think, to have had that chasing an airship here. This instance actually ended up not very much like that at all in the end. But yeah, let me ask you guys, in the live chat, anyone watching this in the comments later, just stop for a second and ask yourself, do you remember what is going on here? Why has Anka done this? Why are the Aetherblades doing this? Just off the top of your head, do you remember that? Like, seriously ask yourself that question. What is the plan? What are they doing? What and why? See, for me, at the start of summer, at the start of Christmas, when I did my little playthrough, I had forgotten that over the past 9 months. I totally blanked on like what the specifics of why this was going on. Like, it was gone. I really couldn't remember. So I'll just explain it just to remind you all. What's happened right now is the Aetherblades have been bumming about in Cantha for ages now. And they found out about the reactor. Anka is mutinying against Trin, who has sort of been cozying up to June. Anka hates the idea of the Elder Dragons, knows that they are these immortal long-term things, and she's just a blip in their lifespan. She's gone really dark from killing versions of herself in the fractals, lost all sense of her own morality or whatever. She just wants to fuck with the Elder Dragons. She doesn't want to be forgotten. So what she's going to do is she wants to blow up June's reactor. But the way to do that, she needs, like, big power. So what she's trying to do is trick us to steal some power from Aurene. They've built this big device, the extractor, and it's on one of their airships. This is all a trap. They're going to get Aurene, they're going to siphon her power, and they're going to use it to blow up the Suwon's reactor. So that's the story and what's going on. The commander obviously isn't privy to any of that right now, but yeah. So in we go. Anyway, that's my memory of it. That might even be a terrible explanation, to be honest. I might have got some little details wrong there.
Aetherblades. Never thought I'd see those sky clowns again.
They're not clowns, they're killers! Remember Lion's Arch? They worked for Starlight for the love of... Oh, Gorrik!
They've certainly been busy. Where did they get all these airships?
Indeed, I like this as well, the new variations of the airships that you got to find here at the start. So I missed an achievement here before.
Secure the target. This wasn't supposed to be a kidnapping, but I suppose the situation is what it is.
Chief, what about the Elder Dragon?
Captain's orders are clear.
Crew's been talking, thinking maybe we could try out Anka's little toy.
No, no way. The extractor is experimental. It could kill her. Stick to the plan and maintain course.
Aye, aye, Chief.
So the mutiny hasn't quite happened yet, obviously, just yet. Ivan there, I gotta read what the hell my skills do, honestly. My legend skills.
Kicking your ass.
Ivan I thought was great in the expansion, and I'm looking forward to him in the next season.
Insidious. But for pirates, they're weirdly into data entry. Check the terminal for a map, a flight plan.
I'm shocked how hard the greatsword's hitting. It's hitting really hard. Let's just get in our head, what is the elite doing? Call upon the spirit of Archimedes to hurl his spirit at your foe, doing significant damage. 3,000 base. Yeah, that's huge. If that crits, that's going to be really big. The other two are just the urn, which we flip over to. This also does 5 torment. The urn is like sacrifice. How can we swap the skills? I can't quite remember. We have 2 F abilities. Gain endurance. That seems awful. Swap my stance skills. So I can elite, swap, and elite again. Is that the thing? We'll see.
These charts, they don't make any sense. Why would the Aetherblades go to...
This one's clearly the stun break.
I'm reading a lot of wind shear up there. You don't have a choice. You're gonna have to jump.
I don't think we take full damage here.
They're attacking from above.
I like how they flee from us. That's really good.
Prepare for mist traversal. You heard the captain. Portal activation on my command.
I mean, 10k. That's crazy. The 3 is a dash-looking spin.
Reading some crazy energy spikes, Commander. See anything strange?
You could say that.
They're heading into the mists.
Oh no, I can't help you in there. Commander, please don't let anything happen to Gorrik.
Really good camera work there. This instance isn't as good as, you know, actually flying on Aurene, but it's pretty good, I think.
Maybe just you. I have no way to get to the next ship.
Let me help. I think you'll enjoy this.
So yeah, there's a bunch of achievements here. L, do we just... Why is my special action on L? Oh my god. Clearly that was bound to something else. Oh, just about made that. Oh god, that wasn't very good. Man, these daisies. Oh my god, man. I just used Mist Unleashed twice, and they all got battered. Eternity's Requiem. They're all such good names. I'm gonna have to update this this special action, because leaning all the way over to L with my index finger is not the most effective way of playing. We'll definitely have to fix that before we get to the strike CMs, if they get organized.
Fine, some entertainment.
Okay, that was a little awkward. Oh, I remember this. This is like a bunch of little impacts, right? Yeah. So what else do we have here? Clear the Armada using the leap skill less than 10 times. What do they mean by clear the Armada, though? So yeah, as we go along, I think that there will be extra little achievements and things we can get. I'm mostly interested in the lore ones, you know, the books and stuff. If I just come over here, that'll save... I've probably already messed that up, actually, if we're meant to be conservative with it. And I shoot the cannon at that guy. Wow, we got obstructed by the dude right in front of us. So that sucks. Jesus Christ, man. And a 10k auto afterwards.
We're not here to harm your Asura friend. Call up Aurene and surrender. No one has to get hurt.
Everyone thinks I'm your pet.
That line I loved before. See, that's such a weird line. Her giggle and everyone thinks I'm your pet. That seems... Oh, God. Help me out, Aurene. Thank you. That seems so so much like it's setting up for like a madness thing, but it's not in the end. It really didn't mean anything, did it? As far as I remember, there's nothing in this expansion about Aurene losing it in any way.
Weapons check on the extractor.
Or, you know, Aurene is an antagonist. They just didn't do it.
Just a contingency. Make sure it's ready.
So what's special about the heal? Channel your rage into a nearby area, healing and empowering yourself for each enemy struck. Oh, it does damage. So I gain might per hit, 4 casts. Okay, interesting. I've completely lost all sense of where we came from here. I feel like I'm going backwards through the map, but... Probably not.
Don't hurt him.
Use the spear. I've got to remember to do at least one dodge. I mean, Christ, the first dodge reduces my endurance, which gives me 10% modifier, and itself gives me a 15% modifier. I mean, it's huge, really. The elite feels weird.
No Gorrik, and I'm trapped. Gotta be a way to overload the system.
It's kind of nice to be able to just dodge on these things. I should get used to just opening with that, maybe. I'll probably open with the elite, actually. Oh, I don't know. Maybe you only want to cast it after you've got your modifiers going. I'm not even legend swapping or anything here. Oh, there's 4 of them? Aha, there's one over there. Now, what do I have that's range? So 3 is a rush.
Now to find the right ship.
This will be a bit better. Once we're not in an action-packed encounter, I'll be able to, you know, wander around freely in Cantha, and we'll get a better grip of these things. Continue moving from ship to ship. So I only get 2 charges left for the achievement. That's quite interesting. So you want me on this one? So hold on, can't I just jump around though? If Aurene saves me, can't I in theory just save my special action? Oh no, she puts me on the previous one. Okay, that's fine. Makes sense.
I'll take care of this one.
Oh, come on. Ah, what? I slid off. Do you know what? I should have swapped to EU. I totally slid. That's unfair. Okay, she's blown up that ship.
Like this in a while.
Yeah, see that line as well. I haven't seen Aurene like this in a while. I don't want to see that blow up, you know. Yeah, I'm not seeing that spear do anything. This feels like quite safe damage actually, because I'm doing evades like for most of it. The idea of doing a strike CM on something like this is interesting, because you can say it's safe, but also if it's just a part of your damage, I don't know. I hate the idea of some important animation sneaking through because you already dodged because you were doing it for damage already or whatever, you know. I always felt like a bit like that playing certain Daredevil builds. Are you serious?
How's she doing that? The hell's going on?
Who told you to prep the extractor? I gave a direct order not to use it. Renfrex's comm is broken. Damn it! We don't even know what that thing does. Is it... How long until the jump? Almost ready, Captain.
I'm finding it quite tricky to pay attention to the dialogue and fight at once here. Oh, that's a great shot too.
Stop the commander, whatever it takes.
And you know, the thing I just compared this to as well with the at the end of season 4, traveling through the mist or whatever. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. I mean, just look here. It's the clouds rushing past us, you know. It's just before we were riding on little Aurene. And this time we actually get to fight for ourselves. This is very close to what I was talking about, to be fair. I need to get used to stun breaking on that. Can use a cannon. I think on my first playthrough last year, I missed all the Aetherblades, but I just got it at the Christmas playthrough. I'll show you guys my achievement panel, actually. And what I'm missing. Alright, I think that's it, isn't it?
Timing. We're out of the mists. Can you see our location? Some kind of landmass in the distance. Timey.
I love this. Actually seeing Cantha before you go there was a great little moment.
Must be enough comms range. Great.
Look how much of the fleet is still there. It's kind of crazy. Actually, I love this shot with all these floating things and stuff. It feels really good. Alright, here we go. Bit of Mitra in here. And I still, everything that we're about to experience, I still think is a really good intro to the expansion.
Just in time to see it firsthand. Good.
There's a good sense of movement for the ship and stuff too. I love how it's dipping just into the water. Do we want to board Anka's ship?
Bye.
She TP's out. Leaving these guys to die.
Deal with her later. Gotta find Gorrik.
That little bugs line's pretty good too.
I'll tell you anything. What do you want to know?
Man, they're already dead. Let's hold on Shiro for a bit. And see how... Well, no, I do want to learn the new legend.
I can't believe Anka would do this. Joining the Aetherblades? Kidnapping? What's gotten into her?
We can talk about her later. Right now we have to get off this ship.
She used to be so nice.
Sorry about this, Gorrik.
Now, not so much.
Anka, our people are on that ship. Hold fire. Just taking a little initiative, Captain.
Almost there, Commander.
Meet me on the deck.
Do you know what I think we should do here, guys?
Evasive maneuvers.
We should turn everything down a bit. I think that's the thing. By the way, this stun break looks nuts. Oh, I gotta avoid the fire. It slaps back daze, so it's break bar damage. It gives stab, and it does damage. Like a lot of damage, too. All on a stun break, with a 10-second cooldown. So yeah, here we go. So Aurene gets caught by the extractor and injured, and she's gonna be down and out for the count for the whole expansion, really.
You disobeyed a direct order. There is a problem, and I handled it.
Commander, I think we're going down.
So yeah, no new achievements for us on this one. This is pretty rough. I think we're meant to, you know, basically go down and stay there. So yeah, everybody crashes. It would have been nice to have a little cutscene here of the ships falling, of us washing up on the beach maybe or something. But this sequence here is great. We're going to lose all our UI. Going to be in different clothes. And there is like a week time jump, I think. Oh yeah, well we are on the beach here. Somehow I deleted this from... Oh yeah, and Rama finds us. I think this is the best intro to any expansion we've had so far. I mean, this is just so good, right? This is exactly everything I'd ever want. An exciting, like, chase sequence, vehicle sequence as we go there. Seeing Cantha in the distance, some kind of disaster. Wake up like a stranger. It's so good. And they have the fun little ArenaNet Presents End of Dragons on screen too. There's just good camera work, everything about it.
Last thing we need is a dead mainlander. Probably stick us in more detail.
I mean, POF has a very good intro too.
What is that one anyway?
Airships, crumbling pyramids, explosions, fire. Instantly in with the mounts. I mean, POF's definitely good, but I think this sequence here is even better. Fading in and out of consciousness, catching glimpses of conversation.
I said I don't know. The detective will have an update when it's all sorted out. Sit tight.
Unacceptable. I want my comms call. We have a right to counsel.
Not here, you don't.
Oh, thank the commander. You're awake. You've been out for so much to... You won't believe where we... Slow down. Okay, first things first. We're in a pickle.
I can see that.
After Amnoon, I swore I'd never go back in. One time, unfortunate misunderstanding. 2 times, I start to question myself.
Okay, so Gorrik just goes on and on and on and on and on. I think there's a way to break out early and you get an achievement.
So much science to be done. Never even got a chance.
Keys are out of reach. Take a bandage. A bowl of something really smelly. Soak the bandages. So now we have a sticky bandage that's moist. Take a large rock. Hit the display. Smack it with the rock. Something fell off. We've got a plank. Hit the door with a plank. Should I shove in the stick into the keyhole? It's a bit too stick. I don't know how this works. Use your foot key. Our foot key has failed us. Hook it out.
Maybe it reveals you. No.
Oh, there you go. With the stick, it's easy to get them off the hook. They fall to the ground. Still out of reach, though. So now we do the sticky thing. take a roll,
Shall we? We must be as
soak the bandages,
as deadly as the mantis, as
try to snag them on the bandages. We cover them, pull it in. We got the keys. We can open the door.
All right,
No, I ran out of time. Right as I was clicking it. Oh. Is there any way I can instantly restart this to get that? I was so close. Oh, that's a good little sequence there. I've never done that before.
What? What's the matter with you? Your friends negotiated your release.
Our friends?
I love his early name as well of just Big Hatted Man.
Business. You're still in my custody.
Officer, may I ask your name?
Rama. Detective Rama.
Detective, my name is Gorrik.
Yeah,
I'm an
I don't need your life story. You washed up on my beach. Gave me a crap ton of paperwork.
Truth is, I have at times been quite at odds with the law. In fact, I was charged with bioterrorism in Amnoon.
He grew a beetle in his arm.
Again, I really like all these older references here.
Best internship ever.
All right, you two. Release forms. By signing this, you affirm that the Ministry of Security has treated you fairly and humanely, that you've suffered no unreasonable bodily harm during your arrest and detainment. You first, bioterrorist.
Wait, define bodily harm. I stubbed my toe last night.
Sign the damn form.
There is obviously Gorrik's like journal in the cell where you can read all about what he was thinking. It's kind of a sappy piece, but we read that on the other playthrough. I remember when I first played this thinking Aurene was going to be like a big part of the game or a big part of the story. She really has a very minimal role. It's nice to see that book in her hands, though, with what I can only assume is new Cantha. It's funny looking back at her in retrospect. Also, by the way, another retrospective thing, Tengu. I mean, what do people in the live chat think right now? When I played this over Christmas, I do think it was one of the big shortcomings of this X-Pack. I really do. I mean, the fact that you couldn't play them. I know that some people will say it's arbitrary, it doesn't affect gameplay, it's just cosmetic, blah, blah, blah. I think when I think about a new race, though, I think about like that idea of the expansion offering some fresh leveling and those. And I know that tomes undermine that. I like to imagine an addition of a new race that actually does a bit of groundwork as well to address some of those issues. But the Tengu are just really cool designs, you know, and I really would have loved the idea of having a new character on there, something new to play. No race, no class. And one of the big features, skiffs, undermined by skimmers. I think all of those things really and then the weak elite specializations on top, in my opinion. Always in my opinion. Like, I'm really not as arrogant as I sound in videos. It's just, if I say in my opinion 1,000 times every episode, it's going to get boring, isn't it? But, yeah, I think these things held it back. And no Tengu kind of hit me like a truck when I was playing this again. I was thinking it really should have been there. And I would hope that we will get something going forwards. I know that there is a lot of naysayers out there, though, that say it's totally unnecessary. I think there are ways it can be... There are already a lot of great justifications for it. And further, I think there are ways it can be done that make it even more exciting of an idea. You know, just getting a new race in the game. But yeah, on that note, I think this guy looks really cool. Cool Imperial outfit. Obviously, there's a lot of varieties of them in here too. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I remember with End of Dragon's announcement, not necessarily just the X-Pack itself coming out. I think once the X-Pack was out, we were all wide-eyed and excited, and it's like, oh my god, new toys finally, new content. That's always such a thrill and such a brilliant thing as a player of this game. But I remember as they were announcing End of Dragon's features and we were going through it, there was a very awkward sort of vibe where there was the side of the community that really wants to love this game at all costs. You know, they just go on and on and on, all caps all the time. It's the year of Guild Wars, it's this. And it's like, just undeserved, basically, and just undeserved over-enthusiasm. And that half of the community was kind of crowding out. What I could really sense was another half of people saying, I don't like... You know, the half that was saying, oh, just fishing, I don't like that. Or, just skiffs, or, just Tengu. And there was that half of the community there. I wonder, in retrospect now, where people sit, whether, you know, the things they thought mattered didn't in the end. And that counts for both halves of the community, do you know what I mean? Like, some people may have come out of that better and some people may have come out of it worse, no matter what half you started on. But yeah, I do very much reflect. I think the Tengu thing still sort of lingers as a bit of an injury for me. Anyway, let's sign this. We don't have to jump on the desk, obviously.
The box there.
And here we get a great little moment where right when we press F, we get all of our UI back.
We hope you enjoyed your stay at the Xingjie Detention Center. Now, if you'll follow me. Akane, hold down the fort.
Roger that.
Xingjie?
I was trying to tell you, Commander. The airship crash-landed in...
Cantha, come for the waters, stay for the hospitality. Been a while. Did you miss us?
Cantha? I don't know what to say.
Only been 114 years. Not like you had time to prepare something.
This was a big mistake from Guild Wars. No Lagos. Well, actually, no. I mean, think about it. This is not the ocean expansion that we thought it was going to be. This is not the water expansion. Lagos is still totally on the table as far as I'm concerned.
Has Cantha been trading with Radasun?
This story, the way they wrote it, this story has no duty to that stuff. I think it's still right for the taking. I think it...
And we're here.
I mean, yeah, this was all brilliant. The music kicks in. I remember being really mind blown and very, very excited about the way that they did this little scene. It looks a little bit more simplistic than I remember, actually. But yeah, I thought this was great. And the camera pulling back especially as well. I think this is really good.
Great, an ambassador's waiting for you. And our Minister of Security wants to speak with you after.
So the Minister of Security being Lee. Lots to talk about with Lee. But yeah, I know it would be kind of weird to sort of... Everyone thinks this is the water expansion. And I mean, Christ, look at the logo, what we just saw. I mean, they really give you a vibe that it's the water expansion. Fishing and skiffs being headline features of it. But it's kind of not in terms of the lore. And it's obviously not in terms of gameplay. I mean, do you guys remember the things we used to speculate about when, like, finally we'd get the Deep Sea Dragon, air quotes, X-Pack? You know, underwater currents and a mastery to navigate them, pressure tolerance, light in the dark, a giant anglerfishes, bubbles of, you know, underwater Asura bases that are like domes, you know, like in Star Wars Episode 1 or whatever, you know, that you swim into. All kinds of crazy ideas. None of that is there in this expansion, and that's not... I'm not saying that to criticize this expansion. I'm saying that that's still valid, you know, and a Lagos city and a Lagos race and all that kind of... That's still possible. And in fact, I think ArenaNet were really clever with how they handled some of the world building here, in that they did Suwon, and they also said, look, there is still a monster out there. There is still a Kraken thing. There is still a Leviathan. There is still a something. And by doing that, I think they've really, really ensured that they do have some cool stories they can tell with underwater in the future. So I'm not upset at End of Dragons for not doing Lagos on any level. I think it's fine.
Cass, Jory, I'm glad you're here. Have you heard anything about Aurene? Is she...
She's fine. Recovering. Don't worry. Case with her. You'll see her soon. It's okay to take a moment to find your bearings. After we heard about what happened, we were so... Anyway, took a little while, but it all worked out. Sort of.
I'm still missing some pieces. How did you find us?
Find you? You kind of caused...
A hot, steaming mess of a circus show?
An international incident. Jenna sent me to Smooth Feathers. And no way would I let Jory miss the opportunity of a lifetime.
Don't know about that. Not like I ever expected to see this place. But sure, if you say so.
You know it is. Commander, there'll be time to catch you up, but that man wanted to speak to you.
You don't want to do an underwater thing until they can create separated sections of swimmable water. Yeah, that is a weird thing, isn't it? I don't know whether that's very easy for them to do in this engine or whether it will ever happen. I would like to think that if it was possible, they would have done it a long time ago already. But I think it's sort of a fundamental thing. You can see in both Guild Wars 1 and 2 that that's a... So I don't know. I mean, maybe they have ways of faking the fact that you're swimming when you're not actually swimming and stuff. It is an interesting thought that the engine does stop certain things from ever happening. Or it just wouldn't be worth the development effort. I also just don't know whether an underwater thing really sells that well as a concept for a whole expansion. It would only ever be part of one, for sure. You know, a video I was doing like months ago, I still have it. So much of it set out was just like an alternate take on how they could have handled the whole Elder Dragon saga. Different storylines happening in different expansions, different release paces, all that kind of thing. And, you know, the way I talk about it is there is an idea that you could have an entirely different expansion. And I think I said something like a depths expansion, but it was underwater and the depths of Tyria. The point was all subsurface, but sometimes you're in the water, sometimes you're in underground. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there are some lines that Guild Wars will never bother with because the engine just can't do it. I feel like there was a period, though, around Season 4 where we had some real technical marvels come into the game. You know, the way some of those mounts were implemented, some of the fractal mechanics and stuff. I mean, really, there's some impressive stuff that we saw for a good while. Anyway, hello, Lee. So, Lee, big disappointment to me in this expansion. Lee is the bad guy. He's the villain twirling his mustache. I think I have a lot of issues about the way that End of Dragons tries to handle very mature, difficult subject material. Racism, isolationism, fear-mongering, you know. And I think it takes a very plain and a very boring and a very pedestrian and a very childlike view on these things. I think Lee starts out written really well and really interesting, and he's this villain, but he's very like relatable and believable in a way, and he's kind of a great warning about certain people in the real world, and he's interesting. But then there just comes a point in the story where it's just, oh no, he's the evil bad man. And I kind of hated how this all concluded. I thought they started with a level of sophistry with this that I really wanted. And then it just all... They concluded everything in the most boring, predictable, lame way possible. That sort of was my take on Lee, ultimately. I love this early stuff with him. So here he is talking to Rama. Let's see what we think as we go through this playthrough here.
So, you're the commander I've been hearing so much about.
I guess I am.
Lee, Minister of Security. Under the agreement signed, 20 minutes ago, you've been granted clemency.
I suppose I've got you to thank for that?
You are fortunate to have such influential friends. My understanding is you're something of a protector of the realm, doing whatever's necessary to keep your people safe.
I try to keep all people safe.
I see. Well, it is my duty to keep the people of Cantha safe. I'm very good at my job, Commander.
Understood, Minister.
I must return to my duties. Welcome to the sovereign Empire of Cantha.
Well, Commander, you're almost free of me. But there's one more thing we need to do before I can sign your release. Meet me at the monastery training grounds as soon as you can.
Rama, a word.
Minister?
Any updates on our Aetherblade situation?
Unfortunately, no. I've been busy handling our guest of honor, but I'll be back on the case soon as this is wrapped up.
Good. Then maybe we'll finally make some headway. Detective?
Yeah, so just to remind you all, Minister Lee is actually a high-ranking member of the... well, not the... Are they the Ministry of Purity still, I suppose? But basically, you know, a horrible behind-the-scenes faction of xenophobes that Cantha has turned away from. But he's a member of them. He has a code name. His code name is the White Falcon, if I remember correctly. And if you read a lot of the lore books, you kind of learn that he's sort of a small piece, ultimately. But he's very useful to them because he's high-ranking in the Ministry here. But so, Gorrik, we're free, Commander. What now? So, Anka, she's really something. I haven't had a chance to talk enough about Anka. I love her still. I think she is the best part of the expansion, by far. It's weird there's no full stop here, by the way. She's really something with no full stop.
I can't believe that's the same Anka I used to hypothesize with. Kidnapping? Murder? Swashbuckling? Timey was right. I should have questioned her motives. But hearing from her after so long, it was as if my rational mind short-circuited. Much like the ant's brain when infected with a fungal spore.
That's one way to put it. Certain people can cloud your judgment.
True. Emotions do take over sometimes. Happens to the best of us.
And what does she want with Aurene? I needed to brief with Tiny. She's going to yell at me, isn't she?
I like this Gorrik stuff with the bugs as well, because I feel like for a little while there, they sort of forgot that he's fascinated by bugs. But somewhere right around End of Dragons, and clearly while developing it, they'd clearly taken stock of it, and it was a big thing that they'd remembered. And I love every bit where they, you know, just these cohesive moments where the characters call back to these things. Never thought I'd see Cantha. This is a great line. This feels like a meta commentary kind of line, right?
Agreed. You only crash into a research opportunity like this once in a lifetime. I find their technology fascinating. Like that apparatus you were hooked up to in the cell. I kept asking the guards about it, but they threatened to attach it to my mouth if I didn't stop talking. It's reminiscent of a golem mod Tiny and I were concepting right before I left. I hope this debacle didn't cause her too much stress.
That plot point, if I remember rightly, is just kind of a small plot point around Jade Tech. By the way, this thing here, I never noticed this on my first playthrough. But yeah, there's something very weird about the exit instance stuff with the game at the moment. And it's all over End of Dragons. They constantly have exit. Do you want to leave? 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 Popping up all over the place. I don't know if I've ever offered any commentary about this, but it is kind of clunky and awkward. And I don't know, I noticed it like mad. Or rather, the people I played with noticed it like mad when I played at Christmas. I feel like this could be a little bit better, you know? Instead of having a big pop-up in the middle, it should just illuminate the exit button on the right or something. I don't know. But you got to get used to hitting cancel on these prompts, because they are everywhere. Anyway, so there you go. A bit about my... To be honest, I'm thoroughly uninterested in listening to these two at the moment. I don't think they have much fun to contribute. I mean, Marjorie does a bit. So this is kind of interesting, because the very last bit of story I think I did in the whole expansion, or that people would do, is with Marjorie and her sisters. You finally meet them. And it's interesting because here at the start, they kind of talk a bit about that. So it's like a bookend, really, in a way. Start of the expansion, you hear a bit about Belinda, and at the end, you're with the other sisters. How are you holding up? It's sure been a wild week. Is everything okay? Your reaction to Casimir's comment about being here, ... Ooh.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Is something wrong?
It's just... I don't know anything about Cantha. Couple of heirlooms from my grandmother, recipe or two. Like I said, until a week ago, I never had a reason to imagine any of this. It just wasn't an option. Belinda was the one who was so into her Canthan heritage. Should have been her here. She would have loved this. Me? I don't care.
Jory, I didn't realize.
Why would you? And the thing is, I don't even know why. Isn't that weird?
So we'll sort of see her connect with it. I like that thing about her character here as well, that she doesn't... You would expect her to care, but she actually doesn't. I really like that little twist. I still don't understand how it is you're here.
Highly implausible string of events. Out of the blue, a message from Empress Yin.
First official communique from Cantha in over a century, inviting Kryda to re-establish diplomatic relations. Oh, and by the way, do we know anything about foreign airships appearing in their skies and crashing on their beach?
Imagine Jenna's face. Imagine everyone's face.
When it got to the part about a Norn, an Asura, and a dragon, we put 2 and 2 together with Tiny and Kaith.
Next thing you know, Ambassador Meade has a new portfolio. And an airship to take her and a delegation to Cantha.
Didn't know what to expect with the Risen Armada. No one has dared travel this far into the sea in over a century.
Luckily, Zaitan's death seems to have left them a bit disorganized. We managed to slip past them on an airship. Handy having a mesmer aboard.
See, this was all quite good as well, because another area of the world building and the lore that they hadn't really been explicit about for ages was that Risen Armada. And the idea that Cantha was cut off from us because of Zaitan and a ton of Risen in the way. Now, that information came from the Movement of the World, pre-launch stuff. Ever since we killed Zaitan in 2012, in theory, that question needed an answer. Why are we not connecting with Cantha? And that's sort of a reason why, by the way. It wasn't just following in Guild Wars 1's footsteps, but this whole time people have been saying, is that going to be the next expansion? Path of Fire made it even worse, because we're clearly passing that armada to interact with Ilonans. And they just sort of hand-waved it. But here, finally, they talk a bit about it, and they say, oh, it does exist, you know, and it is something worth thinking about. But they're disjointed. And by the way, that was another thing I loved about this expansion. The amount of Risen and Undead stuff. I mean, I'm a sucker for it. As with many of my opinions here, this is all just my own little take, my own personal thing. But I really like the vibe of them. And I loved basically everything Zaitan and Unchained in this. I thought was done very well. And I do extend that all the way to the Anka story and the fact she's a Harbinger. So, Kazmir, when you're in the clear... well, you're in the clear. One less thing for me to worry about. How's it going?
It's not boring. Lots to learn, but I'm starting to get a feel for this diplomacy thing. I've already met several officials open to discussion. Of course, you can get some who are hesitant about Cantha opening.
Don't lose sleep over a few jerks still stuck in the past.
Negotiation does take dealing with all kinds.
Stubborn certainly is a kind, but you'll hold your own.
Have you learned anything about our new hosts?
Well, I'm a little rusty on my Canthan history, but things seem different from what I would have expected.
Well, there was a tsunami when Zaitan arose. A lot of Kaineng was destroyed. Uninhabitable, maybe worse than Lion's Arch.
Apparently filthy with Risen. Zaitan, of course.
Which led to a rebellion against the Ministry of Purity. Pretty bloody one, too.
Massive civil war. Who knows how long? Sounds like things were pretty bad until some Tengu holdouts joined up.
Turn the tide. Maybe. Still trying to piece it all together. But yeah, not exactly what we expected.
But where would the fun be in that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one to read as well. Having pored over those documents about, you know, the actual history that occurred here, their guess about what was going on is fairly accurate. Actually, do you know what? One thing I'm really excited about doing this a year down the line is I'm hoping, and this is unbelievably selfish of me, and this is such a, you know, I do not applaud them enough, but I'm hoping that the wiki has filled in, like, a good, decent timeline based on the information that we get in game. I kind of have this weird thing, though, where I very rarely truly trust the wiki, because I feel like a lot of times the information that gets there isn't quite what's actually said in game, and it's twisted a bit according to what people want it to be and stuff. But anyway, if there's really... that should all be documented now. The real struggle last time I was playing this was, you know, when you're properly digging through all that information, there's nowhere to go yet. You have to figure it out for yourself and piece it together yourself. I'd like to see the documents listed out, and that could be something very fun we can see. Like which emperor, you know, into which empress, into which thing. Because I think ArenaNet really did a very good job talking about the rise and fall of the Ministry of Purity over the past 250 years. I mean, they did a really good job, you know, and the massacre at Zendaijan and all that stuff was excellent. I'd love to just see it all properly listed out now. Who else is here?
Well, quite a few members of Dragon's Watch. Kaith, Taimi, plus several Tyrian ambassadors. Sienna, Ember Doomforge, Mirren Skilkin, and some others. Snargle Goldclaw.
The guy who writes romance literature?
Still, we're in impressive company. It's a little intimidating.
You're not exactly lacking accomplishments, my dear. Gods, the past few months alone.
I just want to do a good job. Make a solid name for myself.
I'd say you've done that. I'm impressed. And a little intimidated.
See, that last interaction there's something about it that just turns me off, you know, like... I don't know how interested I am in watching a story of, you know, anxiety-ridden heroes reaffirming one another. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all nice and well and good in the real world, but I don't know, it's sort of a bit... Ugh. Anyway, these guys over here... Ember, obviously, from the novel Ghost of Ascalon. You can listen to the audiobook, read by yours truly, online. Flunt is here. They didn't even mention Flunt in the dialogue.
My ears. It's good to see you.
And he has no role, unfortunately, in the X-Pack. Sienna has no role as well, if am I forgetting something? And that's a shame, because it would be kind of cool to see her, you know, with the Corsairs and their take on the Aetherblades and their take on some of the events that have occurred here. But they don't really have much going on. That other character, though, Murokin or whatever it was, I actually don't remember who that was. I'm assuming it's an Icebrood Saga character. Anyone in the live chat want to help me out here? Who was Murokin or whatever they were? I assume it's an Icebrood Saga thing, maybe one of the Norn or Shamans or something that was going on. But again, I don't think a lot of these guys have stuff really happening. But yeah, okay, so let's exit out now. We can actually accept the prompt this time.
Tiny, they've released the commander. Gorrik, too.
Good. I look forward to telling Gorrik how much of a choya brain he was for trusting Anka.
To be fair, we all agreed to the plan.
Yeah, if by agreed you mean went along with it, but told you the whole time it was a bad idea. Yeah, but you're right. We did. Still, he and I are gonna have a talk.
Commander, Aurene found herself a nice little sea cave to rest up in. She'd love for you to come by.
I hitched a ride with a local fisherman. If you don't mind answering a few nosy questions, I bet you can too.
Don't forget, you need to meet with Detective Rama as well.
Oh, it's nice to actually be able to walk at full speed now. Yeah, End of Dragons has a cool thing as well, where it's like you sort of move a bit slower every now and then. Make it a bit more ambient, a bit more immersive. On my first playthrough last year, you know, I was constantly manually toggling walk on, and so I didn't really notice it. On my Christmas playthrough, I was playing with people who really aren't that interested in the story, and they were just rushing through, really. And it's amazing how different the game feels when you realize how often you're being forced into auto-walking and how often you're being forced to slow down. I have to say, it was really eye-opening seeing people sort of just rush through the game. You know, like when you're doing map comp, you just go fast, beeline, go around. It's not like you stop and smell the roses at every POI and take in why this might be a POI and is there an NPC net. You just sort of get it and you move on. You just get the next vista and you move on. You get the next vista. And I said it in the video I made announcing the series. It's amazing how poorly some parts of the game come across when you're playing with that mindset of just going quick, which is what a lot of people are conditioned to do in MMOs. And it's not that the players are wrong. It really does just feel like this expansion, you're just flashing from cutscene to cutscene to cutscene where people are like, you know, talking about some drama of some kind and, you know, heaving their chests and crying and talking all about their struggles in life, and then they move on, and then there's another character doing the same thing, and then there's another character doing the same thing. And it is weird, you know, when you play it really slow, the pace like I did last year's playthrough and stuff, I think it comes across much better. You know, if you really do, if you are a big fan of it and you really try to put as much in, you get a lot out of it. And I wonder if that's maybe the problem with Guild Wars 2 sometimes, where it's not... You have to put in a lot to get out a lot. And maybe what it needs to be is in a situation where you can put in less and get a bit more out, you know, to turn more people fanatical about it. Because it's all well and good communities like mine, where I'm a fanatic about the game. You're watching this probably a fanatic on some level. You might be feeling disconnected like I have over 2022, but on some level you're probably quite fanatical to be here. It's a very different world, I think, for a lot of other people. Anyway, we get a Vista viewer for the daily. Yeah, Murakin. Cottage, it's good to see you. Was the non-binary, were they non-binary? I don't remember that. Priory Norn, who fought alongside Bram in Thunderhead Keep and mentioned how the two prophecies could work together. Fought alongside Bram in Thunderhead Keep? I really don't remember that. Speaking of non-binary, though, End of Dragons obviously decides it wants to have more of that. So one of the big things that went on with my playthrough last year was I didn't realize, Mao? I think it's Yao, isn't it? That he's non-binary or whatever. And my God, I remember reading back through one of the comment threads, not comments, but like the live chat of like an episode where I met them. And people were just freaking out in chat and like fighting with each other about, you know, like trans issues and gender identity and stuff, just like going crazy. Because I wasn't paying too much attention to chat at the time. I remember like glimpsing over to it and seeing like some abominable conversation happening which I just had absolutely no interest in whatsoever. And sort of looking back, and it was only later I realized that I think some people were bristling that I was calling him a he. I mean, to me, he looks like a boy. He sounded like a boy, so I was calling him a boy. But I'll try to avoid upsetting people. I'll use they if you guys insist, even though it's a fictional character that literally couldn't be offended. But yeah, that was definitely something. And there's a bit more of that going on with Guild Wars now. And I don't really have much of a take on it, to be honest. I mean, I almost don't like even talking about it now because people are obsessed with topics that I just find very boring and aren't really relevant to my life. And I would rather we just talk about Guild Wars rather than... Because it's kind of that thing with like live chat and internet communities. All you have to do is mention some topic like sex, right? And it just sends people off into fits of discussion about stuff that is like, you know, at some point you get a bit bored of. But, I mean, ArenaNet themselves are obviously interested in these topics and want to put them in the game. So, I mean, if that's what they want, you know, maybe that's all right, actually, in the end. But yeah, I will try. So Yao, I think it is supposed to be non-binary. And the funny thing as well is I think they reiterate that like at the end of every single meta too. But I haven't really done much of the meta grinding either in this X-Pack. In fact, I don't really remember or know how to do like craft the legendaries. I still don't have an Aurene legendary, done nothing like that. I don't know this thing where you like collect ass every week, don't you? Antique summoning stones you're supposed to get. Which I think one antique summoning stones and a Guild Wars 1 item where you double click and summon a random enemy. So, you know, I've got all of that to discover realistically. Am I going the complete... We're supposed to be going to Aurene, right? At the docks. I guess we'll get the waypoint over here at the monastery. Another thing as well. Okay, so I mentioned this a bit on the video announcing this project yesterday, 2 days ago. Let's listen to this first.
Sudden and impromptu arrival in Cantha. Humanitarians cheer while others are more hesitant. Should they be allowed free reign or be kept under a watchful eye?
So I remember pre-release, by the way, these holograms, and they had mentioned, oh, they'll keep updating as the story goes along. You'll get more news and stuff. I think they definitely added something to the expansion, but I'm sort of middle of the road in my opinion about it here. I don't know. I'm not as fanatically enthusiastic about the feature as I thought I was going to be. I mean, it is a good feature. Maybe I'm just forgetting, though. We'll see how many times we can, you know, beat a story instance and get a bit of info, and beat a story instance and get a little bit of info. Right, yeah, so, if you guys remember when I first came here, we had Snargle to speak to. Snargle and his publicist, I think it was, Kippo, who I really liked. I genuinely thought were really funny. A lot of great levity. She's very entertaining. Awesome, like, little side thing. I think they were standing around here. They were. Here's Kippo. Here's the thing, though. It's all account-bound. It's all account-bound and achievement-based. And it's tied to Arborstone. And like I mentioned in the video 2 days ago, I don't think I get it a second time. I mean, this is it. Kippo's here.
Now these writers, all of them wants to write the next great Tyrion novel. Snargle's got a cush gig going. All his readers want is a little erotic passion, titillation, action. Sure, they need enough artsy crap so they don't gotta be embarrassed if you catch them reading a Kralkatorid affair. But, and excuse my Elonian, sex friggin' sells. I'm only pushing Snargle to play on his strengths, limited though they may be.
Limited though they may. I mean, he's great, right? But we only get half of the conversation. So I don't know. And I think, you know, there's that book signing in the next map in Kaineng, the Super Adventure Box book signing. I think we get maybe a bit less there. I'm not sure. So you're a publisher?
Best in the business. My company represents the top writing talent in the world. And Snargle Goldclaw. You ever hear of Bonnie Kundera? A rising star. I don't know if her prose is any good. That don't matter none. Her books fly off the shelves like hotcakes. If you see Bonnie around, tell her Kippo sent you, and she'll hook you up with a signed copy of her book, On the House. Super Adventure Box. The official novel. Mwah. It prints gold, baby.
I'd like to see them actually release that IRL, and it gives us tantalizing clues about the as-yet unseen World 3 and 4. Ooh. What brought you to Cantha?
Well, 2 of my best-selling authors came to Xingjie for book signings. Snargle's actually 11th best-selling now. Don't tell him that. No need to kick the poor bastard while he's down. This market's an untainted paradise. Millions of fresh eyeballs and untapped wallets.
In the live chat, saying thus all accounts are useful for reliving stuff. I don't know though. That's not right to me. I really think it goes too far when it starts taking away from exploring these places on an alt. I really do think that. But that's kind of the weird pickle that this game's in now, where it's bound some systems together that probably never should have been. So you're here to sell books?
You bet. But that's not all. Do you know Cantha's living in the future while the rest of us mopes are still eating dirt? That's coming from an Asura. They watch theater projected from their Jade technology. Moving pictures. I want K&M at the forefront of new media. Because pretty soon, ain't nobody gonna be reading books. Maybe one day, the audience could even control these movies. An interactive experience. Feel like you're really there. Of course, when that day comes, we won't even need writers like poor Snargle here. We'll let the audience make their own stories, all pretend like. Then I'd be through dealing with these prima donnas.
And that's funny as well, obviously, because we think about how the real world of film and TV went, and Hollywood and prima donnas absolutely everywhere. So, yeah, that as well. This thing as well, right, with the idea of TV coming into Tyrion stuff. I'm not that into it. I don't like seeing characters wearing glasses. I don't like there's a line in End of Dragons where they're talking about, like, their BMI or, like, I don't know, just some real world modern medical jargon is getting thrown around. It's kind of to show how sophisticated and intelligent and how great this Jade technology is here in Cantha. But all those little things, you know, I kind of don't like the vibe of it. I don't like seeing June have a Jade tech microwave and a Jade tech refrigerator, even if that's kind of played as a bit of a gag. It's meant to be a bit goofy and it's hidden in a side area or whatever. That sort of stuff just feels, I don't know, I think we're going into a weird place with the setting. But, you know, if they do this kind of stuff and they keep pushing with it, I kind of like the idea of a Miratoria again, where it's more of that medieval Guild Wars 1 feeling setting again. So you can have your cake and eat it too. I think that would be quite interesting. But like even stuff like this, like there's definitely meant to be a bit of a future-y vibe, you know, a modern vibe actually, let's say. You know, with like administrators and minsec, and when you look at like the actual reactor rooms, they're supposed to look like, you know, 50s, you know, science fiction kind of techie power plants and stuff like that. I get that that's a vibe they're going for here in this expansion, but just in general, I think that Guild Wars got very modern with a lot of its stuff.
The airship crashed outside of the monastery. Minister Lee is putting together a task force investigating a severe uptick in crime throughout the region. We will continue to monitor the situation as the ministry conducts their investigations.
And yeah, it's always been I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just my own personal little take. It's just a vibe I've never quite gelled with.
You folks at Minsec must be swamped.
Oh, we have a good glider. We have the forged glider on. So I'm not actually sure what I'm doing here, by the way. Royal Court is obviously a story step in a second. I don't think we're going to get map exploration or anything. This really is just going to be a story playthrough. We'll just go through. We can go to Rama at the training grounds, I suppose. Which, again, I think is a great little heart. Oh, the other thing I did on the Christmas playthrough was sky scaling everywhere. I gotta say, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit, right? And to anyone else who did it too. I am so happy I played this the way that I did, where I didn't raptor until we found the raptors in Kaineng, and I didn't springer until, oh, you know, whatever the order was when we found the springers in the top right kind of. I'm so, and I never sky scaled. I'm so happy I did that, because I'll tell you, just rushing through with the sky scale, it is every bit as bad as I've ever ranted it would be. I mean, it really takes so much away from the game. And I mean, I know that's your reward for the grind and the expense of the sky scale years earlier. We're just in such a weird sort of place with the entire concept of what the game is and what it's trying to do. And it's like, is that a reward for me to have a watered down, crappy, the option to give myself a more efficient, yeah, more watered down experience of the RPG? Like, there's just something really odd about it. You can just sort of feel earlier stuff in the game weighing down the new stuff, and it's very odd. I gave myself that experience. I just rushed around with the sky scale because the other people I was playing with were sky scaling everywhere, and I'm not going to get in a big argument trying to stop people from doing what they want to do, you know? Like, who am I to tell people exactly how they must play? But it is so much worse just rushing around. It is so much worse. And that's what we'll be doing here on this playthrough, by the way. You know, I'm really thankful that I've given myself that experience where I properly climbed around Kaineng, and, you know, there were some places I really didn't know how to get to. We had to unlock zip lines and stuff. And, you know, Guild Wars is going to continue being in that odd place where it's like...
To begin your final test, please proceed forward to the examination arena.
A few more expansions down the road. It's going to be really weird, isn't it? Thinking of, like, who has sky scales versus who doesn't, and where do you get it from? Oh, all this super old stuff in Season 4. I don't know. There's a lot to think about. Anyway, dare to test myself? Yes. I would like to learn one of my new abilities. So the stun break seems really cool. The elite feels weird, and I don't know why. What's this one? Scavenger Burst. Unleash my rage at foes in the area, gaining boons and endurance for each one struck. Oh, so this gives me quickness. So we might like to open with this. Oh, and it's ranged. Quickness doesn't really scale with a dodge, though, does it? Oh, it recharges really fast.
Enemy detected. Threat assessment severe. Sorry. Went into
Let's use the elite. See, I used it. I didn't see any damage.
I could deduct points for sloppiness, but I will choose the high road.
I'm not really sure what that was. Let's try and use it on a dragonfly. What's the range? 1200. Oh, it's because it's on an epic delay. I see. We're summoning the spirit of Archimedes, then there's a huge delay, and then finally it strikes. That's why it's felt really low impact. It's not, it's just, you know, I might have killed the enemy in the meantime. Hello, Rama.
Okay, let's get this started. You, my friend, took a nasty blow to the head when you crash landed on our beach. I can't sign your medical release unless you prove you're not gonna keel over on me out there. So, you're gonna join the students in a few training exercises here at the monastery.
You're sending me to school?
Yes. Yes, I am. But it should be easy for you, right? Assuming everything's in working order and the legend of the commander isn't just a Crichton fairy tale. Your little friend's already out there. Threw himself right into it. He's got a bit of a ferocious streak.
You're surprised they didn't disable the sky scale until that you beat the story, or what 14 did, where you acclimatize account-wide? Yeah, I mean, I think a thing where you get map comp to unlock your old mounts again is an interesting idea, but it also then puts so much pressure on map comp itself, and I don't know whether that's the right thing to do. But I mean, maybe they could add a whole new layer of collecting things or something. But yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, I think some system like that would have been nice, but I also think they're just very, very leery about that. I think that this is a studio, or at least this is a game, where really QOL and access to stuff is very much at the forefront of their minds all the time, to the game's detriment, in my opinion. But that's kind of what these consumers expect, and that's sort of what they've created. So I don't know whether they'd ever turn their back on it. But yeah. All right, so what are we doing on this one? Combo fields. Ah, now that's a good question. What do I have as a combo field? This is a well, but doesn't place anything. I have absolutely no combo fields here, so let's swap.
Try again.
Oh wow, this is a build without a single field. Neither of my weapons, neither of my legends, or none of all three of my legends. Let me put it that way, actually. Also, so this has changed. I can just stay on whatever I want. It doesn't flip until I tell it to. So I can use a special action, I know, but that's amazing. So we can special action. Is it down?
Oh, you caught me off guard.
We can whirl and leap. Wait for it to cool down. Is this not a leap? No, it's a rush, but not a leap. Okay, so we can leap.
Unusual technique. I like it.
We can well. I think we get like 1/3 of the heart at each little arena area or something like that. And then, oh, in fact, we don't even need to do the heart for the story here. We can just progress on.
You must be our new outsider trainee. Perfect. I love whipping students into shape.
This is quite good here as well, by the way. I think they were very good at describing quite easily and simply for new players what the combo system is.
Have a look around.
It's just what's the field, what's the finisher, and that's it.
Its own trainer. Warning.
Break the defiance of the training golem.
Have any particularly massive
Dodge 5 in a row.
My defense student. Subvert my defense protocols.
This is actually kind of useful playing on a new elite spec with a ton of stuff I don't know. I mean, I could just Shiro ult. But what else have you got? We have our stun break, will be defiance damage. Is there anything on here that does defiance damage? Chill. It's not that good, is it really? Oh, he doesn't have a bar up. No, it should highlight, doesn't it? Highlight?
Withholding direct attacks and instead find a way to subvert my defenses.
So we have a little bit of defiance damage there. Star 5, obviously, but let's just get used to our new stuff. Wow, so there's very little Vindicator CC pressure. Of all the great sword abilities and of all the legend abilities, there is only Reaver's Rage. So you're going to have to look at other stuff. Like Staff, like Jarlis, like Shiro. I don't think Ventari has... Oh no, Ventari has the knock on the tablet explosion. Yeah, we're not legend swapping much, so we're not really seeing Song of the Mists here, are we?
You have successfully eliminated...
So we should be pretty good there. Now we just got to dodge 5 attacks in a row from this guy.
Try to keep away from my landslide.
Oh god, and this is going to be really weird here.
I got you in a
Oh, he tagged me. I think he got me there. Okay, so how do we keep our vigor high in this situation? Can we hit him? Alright, 1. How am I supposed to do 5? I'm not going to have the endurance for that. Should I just run in circles? Does going behind him count? It does for the heart. I'm sure there's a button that I can press right now. Someone's screaming at me that would give me a bit more vigor a bit quicker. Alright, there we go. We did it. Yeah, we just had to avoid him by backing around him. What I'll do is between this part and the next part, I'll check into that.
For the final test, you're gonna go toe-to-toe with one of our fighting mechs.
Sounds easy enough.
I don't usually set it to maximum power, because, you know, there's a reason we're all being replaced by machines. But I think you just might be up to the challenge, Commander.
Okay, and now the first thing I did when I got here was fight the mech, but hey.
About those things I said, no for death.
Get ready to lose. Oh, do you know what? I shouldn't have swapped there. We should have broke his bar. So hold on, yeah, let's use the spear here. Oh, I can spear then dodge to stack my modifiers afterwards. So you can open with the spear then, really. The other thing I want to see is what this auto attack chain's like how cool the final hit is, how weighty it is, or what it does. It's chill and vuln. So the vuln is battle scars, I guess.
Just kidding.
It's something.
To cheer myself up.
Okay, Rama, what do you think? Oh, I haven't told you guys. By the way, Rama I still think is awesome. I think he comes across really well in this expansion.
Good. I can now sign this form with reasonable confidence that if you walk out of here and die...
I mean, I think in a lot of ways he's just sort of the dream husband for sort of your stereotypical girl.
You know, Detective.
But, I mean, he's fun, certainly, and I really do like him. That's not a knock against him in any way.
I don't suppose you'd be open to sharing any intelligence you've gathered.
He's funny, he's cute, he's manly, he's everything, you know. He's an icon.
I'm not authorized to make that call. You'd need clearance from someone way higher up the food chain.
I guess I'll have to chat with Ambassador Meade.
Yeah. Don't really care how you do it. You bring in signed paperwork, you can see the file.
He's aloof in kind of a nice way. I like him. So yeah, with that, I like this as well, how they started this, where you had 2 objectives, 2 different things you can do. You can choose the order. I remember on my first playthrough last year being really excited about that and thinking, oh, this is going to be cool if that happens a lot. But this is the only time, isn't it? That you kind of get, like, your choice of where to go.
I speak in poems.
I might be wrong about that. I mean, placing the extractors in the Jade Sea is sort of...
You the one needing a lift out to the sea caves? Your friend said you might be by.
Okay, so big story here as well, of course.
Whenever. Odd one, that friend of yours. Smart, but in a kind of unsettling way.
You can take us there quickly. Yes, please. Let's go. So this is the introduction of Sue 1 now. Happens very early in the expansion. And obviously is sort of brain-breaking as a moment, really, with all your expectations and understanding of the deep-sea dragon just being completely broken at this point.
Snacks and shoot the breeze like it's anybody?
Well, generally we talk about slightly more important things than that.
Oh, you're not secretly a god or something, are you?
No, not that I know of.
The ironic thing is that we're being replaced by machines line is that the entire story was written by an AI. Fun fact, was it now?
If my entire race is the exact same height.
Oh, this is good, look, Norm.
No, never mind.
Are all of you people that big? Sorry, I was looking at the live chat there. That's good. I like that. So you actually know a dragon, you just sit around and eat snacks and shoot the breeze like it's anybody. That's good. I hope there's something in the world as well.
As we get. Not gonna ground her just to keep your feet dry.
I reckon I can make the jump. That should be an achievement to get out without getting wet. So get the crystal bloom. A year later, I came across this and I was like, oh, man, I don't know what to think about the crystal bloom either.
Walking free again.
Yeah, what was it like? You know, in the slammer. Did you get any prison tattoos?
Okay, that's enough fun at my expense. Now, where's Aurene?
She's inside, resting up. Don't worry, really.
I just finished running a series of tests on her, and frankly, I'm baffled. Her vital signs are completely normal, but her magic, it's nearly non-existent.
They drained her magic?
Yes, and that extractor thing they shot her with left us no clue how it works, or how to cure her.
Lady Timey, your request to accompany Ambassador Meade to court has been approved. I'll be your escort.
Lady Timey, huh? I could get used to that. Consider me escorted. Woohoo! Can't wait to get a closer look at those mechs.
Come. I can feel Aurene getting restless. She knows you're here.
It's interesting, this idea that she has no magic.
But hearing you were on your way woke her right up.
Yet can continue to exist. I almost feel like she shouldn't look the way she does anymore, you know. But I mean, she's injured. Obviously suffering.
Champion.
Aurene, you're sure you're...
I'm fine. Tired. And there's a hollow feeling, as if something is missing.
I see.
Commander, can we talk over here for a second?
Sure, Marjorie. Sure nothing bizarre or crazy is about to happen.
I think this is taking a toll on her mentally more than anything else. Wish we could perk her up somehow.
I hand-fed her fish as a hatchling when she was fussy.
Well, there's a great big ocean right out there. Need any fishing supplies?
You have fishing supplies?
Hey, there hasn't been much to do with Kaz spending all day in meetings. It's meditative.
Okay, so I forgot the little fishing tutorial bit here, actually. And this is quite nice and sweet. I like how, as well, he mentions, oh, you just stand around eating snacks or whatever. And it does kind of make you think, well, what does Aurene eat? Does she eat normal food? Is that button new? Modify tackle? I don't remember that. I mean, it does just say it will open your equipment menu, but still. Oh, yeah, another thing I noticed, too, was the Mystic Salvage Kit with a new icon. That's new to me, guys. Oh, in fact, I was going to clean out my inventory by selling, like, sigils and stuff. I don't know. Like here, I got all these sigils of the runes of the scholar here, which we could sell. I mean, there's 2 of them. 9 gold. I mean, I would have thought these markets would be crashing eventually, since you can generate infinite ones. I mean, maybe I'll do that later. But yeah, there should be... I even have regular fireworks runes here. Look at this. 13 gold for those. Now that I've got legendary runes, I don't really know why this character's just sitting on them. The 62 silver for a sigil of energy is interesting to me. Otherwise, the market looks pretty much exactly the same as I last left it. Alright, anyway, we got a fish here.
I have something for you, Aurene.
As you fed me when I was young. But I'm no longer a baby dragon, champion.
You could be an ancient dragon, Aurene, and I would still come with fish.
That might be optimistic.
This is good. They're reminding us of the difference between us.
But thank you. I will enjoy this.
Which is about as close as we get, really.
I apologize. I was reckless. I wasn't thinking far enough beyond the moment.
You were everywhere out there, and we don't need you to be everywhere.
I know. I can't face that feeling again. That there was more that I could have done.
Well, you're gonna have to get over that.
You're right, of course.
What was that weapon the Aetherblades used? Any ideas, Commander?
No, none. But I'm going to find out. I asked the detective whether he would share any intelligence they've gathered on our mist-hopping friends. He was reluctant, but said he'd show them to me if I got clearance from someone higher up the food chain.
Well, Kaz has that meeting scheduled with the Empress soon. Think that's high enough?
I'll have to see if I can tag along.
Well, it sounds as if you have plenty to do, Commander. And Aurene needs rest. So, I'm going to officially chase you away.
Oh, here we are. This is the moment. Thank you for the fish, champion. Will you be okay?
I've never felt anything like this. So, I really can't say. It could be the start of something worse. A slow dwindling of the spirit to nothingness. But I have no reason to think it will. It's not like anything I felt with Gorrik. Like only a small sliver remained to reform the rest from void. So all I can say is that, for now, I don't believe I'm going anywhere.
Go on. I've got things in hand here, and Aurene doesn't need any more excitement.
I don't like that line there either. Is she an elder dragon or not? You know, we don't have to treat her like a small child that's being overstimulated. But, I mean, maybe that's the fun of it, you know, sort of we're playing in that idea that it is an elder dragon, but it is still very young, so... And also, I've just realised I completely messed this up. This is not the Suwon introduction here, is it? The Suwon introduction is the next time we go to the cave. So, yeah. All right, guys, what I wanted to do was just extend this just long enough.
Yes, Commander?
I've got something I need to bring before the Empress, and I hear you're on your way to court this afternoon.
Oh, yes. I'm pretty sure I could negotiate an extra +1. Though they did drag their heels a little when I asked about Timey. And you did just get out of jail. No, I can make this happen. Meet us at the Imperial Palace. I'll handle everything.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the moment with Suwon, but it's not then, is it? It's when you return to the cave. So yeah, I extended this episode just a little bit longer than normal because I kind of wanted to get that in there. I guess we'll stop it now though. But yeah, join me next time. We'll get to see the Empress and that awesome cutscene introduction of June and Lee. The Empress is a funny one as well, isn't it, really? I mean, the Empress sort of shows up at the beginning, gets talked about a good amount, but basically has no role in the expansion. You know, they do this whole thing about, like, June and the Empress being sisters and so on, but it really isn't relevant. It's funny, actually, and this scene is actually a bit odd in retrospect. But, look, we can talk all about that next time. The next part could be tomorrow, or it might be the day after. I don't know right now. It just sort of depends where my energy is or how that's going. But, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the people who kept me company in the live chat. Looking forward to reading the comments on this. Feel free to check out the other series I'm doing at the moment, guys. And I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back very shortly. There are a lot of messages I've missed here, so I'll go back and scroll through those soon. Thanks, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.